Happy Saturday, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin debate show where I argue with people about politics on TikTok Live. What do I have for announcements today? I think the big thing is that No King's Day is supposed to be tomorrow, but I would argue that the No Kings people have not organized a protest. That makes me very sad because I was really excited about the previous No Kings. The turnout was really incredible, and there was this growing thing where each No Kings was a lot bigger. And then this time around, they've kind of just decided that it's a concert, and they're going to have people. They want you to organize watch parties. What, at home? That's not protesting. I just wanted to say that. I've been talking with some of my protesting buddies about it. I'm pretty unhappy about the messaging around it, and I want to do, I don't know. I want to leverage my platform to do something better for protesting than that. But it's infighting. I hate to say anything negative about a group of people who are so on my team, or about a movement or an event or something like that that's supposed to be for what I want. But I just got to be honest. It's the only thing I can do on the show is be honest. And honestly, I think they've really biffed it on the messaging around this one. So expect to hear more from me about that when I have more to say about it. But I don't even know what there is for me to participate in tomorrow. I think I'm just going to do the show and talk about it because it's. I don't think they're going to succeed at having the protests overshadow what Trump is doing on the White House lawn tomorrow. And I think if that was the goal, they're going to fail, and that's a shame. But I just wanted to say that at the beginning of the show. If you're watching after the fact on YouTube, you can find a pinned comment where at the top of that pinned comment, it'll tell you when the first oppositional call starts, and all the oppositional call times will be listed in the description eventually, because sometimes it takes me about 24 hours to get that work done. What else do we have? I do have some people to thank because I missed a donation yesterday. I had a bunch of small ones come in. So I missed Jennifer's $15 Venmo donation. So I apologize to Jennifer for not reading her message out on the show because it pertained to a particular guest. She wanted to know if the guest understood what a food desert was, because food deserts are a big part of the reason why people have a hard time staying healthy. So that would have been really, really poignant during the conversation we were having yesterday. So it's a shame I just missed it. So that's my bad. And Kate, Milky Kate, one of the mods, sent me $25 on Cash App outside of show hours just to ask what's my stance on DRUG policy. Difficult to talk about on TikTok Live because TikTok likes to censor people for talking about substances. I think I have a pretty standard progressive perspective. Oh, wait, YouTube isn't on. Now it is. Hold on. Forgot to hit the additional button. That doesn't affect the recording. That just affects it getting broadcasted out to YouTube. Whoopsie daisy. Thank you very much for the update. Let's get this on. There we go. Okay, what was I saying? Yeah. Kate wanted to know my stance on DRUG policy, and I think it's a pretty standard progressive policy, which is just that substance abuse issues should be looked at as a public health issue. Prohibition doesn't work. You know, I think that going after the criminality of dealers of substances makes sense, but going after users just, in terms of getting positive outcomes, doesn't... it just doesn't work. Sorry to everybody waiting on YouTube. I just I changed the way I do live streams in a technical back-end sense a few days ago, and there's an additional button I need to click to go live that I forgot to click. We're going to start right away by talking to devin_5301, and we're going to see if this is a good debate to start the show off. First, we got to check, as always, how old are you?
So, my man, 21.
21. Are you a Trump supporter?
I am.
Why is that?
Otherwise, I won't be up here, my friend.
Well, lots of people call in not knowing that there's supposed to be opposition, so I always ask.
Appreciate it. It's, we can start from the top and the bottom, from economics to the border to just worldview, to literally just not sending our country into a shithole.
Not sending our country into a shithole. That's newer than the other things you listed. What does that mean to you?
What does that mean? Dude, just policies, transgender for everybody.
What does that mean? Transgender for everybody?
Pushing transgenderism on everybody.
Who's doing that?
Democrats.
In what way?
Biden hosting Transgender Visibility Day on Easter in 2023.
I think that one of the problems with people who are affected...
That is fucked up, dude.
I think that one of the problems for people who have an issue that is faced by so few people is that they have a difficulty with visibility, where people don't understand what's going on with them. So visibility and awareness campaigns are important. I don't think that it's fair to call that pushing it on everybody. So for example, just to make sure I understand I just want to understand how you use the English language. Would you be against somebody having something like an Autism Awareness Day? Just to like teach people about what autism is and how parents of children with autism struggle, that sort of thing?
Autism is a health condition. Transgenderism is a mental health condition.
I asked a very specific question. Do you have a problem with the idea of having something like an Autism Awareness Day?
No, not at all.
Okay, do you think that it would be fair
on the government scale?
Do you think that it would be fair for a person to say that an Autism Awareness Day is pushing autism on people?
You missed the point. Autism is a health defect.
We can get to why you think it's different after you are done answering my questions. Do you think that suggesting because we have an Autism Awareness Day, that means that that awareness day is pushing autism onto people who don't have it?
No.
Okay, so I would like to understand why you think that an awareness campaign for transgender people is pushing transgenderism onto people who aren't transgender.
That's a mental health condition, not a health condition.
Okay, so let's pick a mental health condition. Schizophrenia. If I had an awareness campaign for schizophrenia, do you think that it would be suggesting that we're pushing schizophrenia on people who don't have it to have an awareness campaign for schizophrenia?
That's not even possible, though, because it's a health condition.
So you're correct.
Completely irrelevant.
You're correct that that's not possible. You're correct that that's not possible, and it's also not how transgenderism works. You're not going to make a person trans by...
How does transgenderism work?
It's pretty complicated. I'm going to suggest that you probably don't listen to the psychologists that study it.
Because it's a mental health condition, my friend. I don't... All right. I'm more curious, too. I see a flag in the background.
No, I'm not going to let you move on to a different topic. Do you think that educating a person about transgenderism makes them more likely to be transgender themselves?
I think that's Democrats' goal. I think that's the goal of doing that.
I don't think that's... Why would anybody want more people to be trans? Being trans is very, very, very difficult. We don't really want that type of outcome for people. It's unfortunate the society makes life so difficult for trans people. We're trying to make life better for the people who are trans. We're not trying to make more people trans.
That's what pushing transgenderism does. It's like men and women sports.
You need to
no,
I'm not going to let you move on. You're gish galloping. You're moving on to a new claim before we've assessed the current one. You are asserting that educating people about transgenderism is going to make them more likely to be trans. Where the hell did you get that?
No, pushing, not educating, pushing.
In what way are they pushing? What's the difference
in your definition?
Hi, Raven.
Hi, Raven. What's the difference between educating and pushing?
I'm glad you asked. Let me give you an example. When the most powerful person in the world has a drag show at the capital of the most powerful country in the world, it kind of gives off the image that,
Do you think that the most powerful person... Wait. I have a direct response to that. Do you think that the most powerful person in the country hosting a fight on the White House lawn is promoting violence then?
I think that's badass.
Can you explain the difference?
Can I explain? You want me to explain the difference? So UFC is mixed martial arts. That is the most primal United States patriotic event that you can do. It's our 250th birthday. That is the most patriotic thing you could do. And it'll never happen again. So I'm actually really excited.
I'm just men hugging each other all sweaty is the most patriotic.
Yeah. Before we go down these rabbit holes, which we could, and Raven will have lots of snappy things to say about that. Just really quick, you keep asserting that something that the Democrats are doing is going to make more trans people exist. You need evidence for that sort of claim if you're going to bring it to my show.
Also, I'd like to talk about how he said that Biden made Transgender Day of Awareness on Easter, when Transgender Day of Awareness happens on the same calendar day every year, and Easter actually changes which calendar day it happens on every year, so therefore, Easter kind of landed on Trans Day of Visibility and not the other way around.
That's fucked up, dude! That's fucked up. Bring the Easter Bunny around, not drag queens. Are
you able to acknowledge what I just said?
Yeah, I did. I get you, and maybe that is the case.
Explain it back to me.
So show that you were listening.
I understand.
Easter changes every single year. Trans Day is on the same day every single year. It's a pretty simple concept.
Yeah. So explain to me why you're so upset about it.
I'm not upset. I'm giving you an
came
example
up here
that
pretty upset, saying that it's pushing transgenderism, which isn't even a word.
Okay. Let me. It could be. It is now. Let me explain this. I'm going to go a little bit further in depth. Just give me a second to respond here. If the population, the decline in the birth rate in almost all major countries is declining.
If only men were actually fuckable.
There are more interesting socioeconomic reasons for that I could get into, but I co-sign Raven's burn.
Do you understand that if like your bloodline ends, birth rates are dropping?
I already have a child, so.
Do you?
I do. He's 11. He's wonderful.
I don't know, Ray. I feel like I might be. I don't want to step in. I love everybody. I don't want to.
You sure don't, actually.
No. I do. That's the thing.
You push ideals that hurt people. That's not very loving.
Bro, men cannot play against women in football. I do not want my daughter going into a guy's locker room.
Once again,
vice versa. I don't want.
You're concerned that the Democrats are going to make there be more trans people than there are. I'm going to continue to insist that you substantiate that claim.
Maybe not make it, but when you push it so visible, I am so fun.
Maybe you were completely wrong.
Show make you a drag queen.
Bro, but why is the most powerful person in the world hosting a drag show?
Why does it matter?
Because that's crazy.
Why does it matter? You have to substantiate your reason for having this aversion, this fear.
Because it lowers the birth rate. I think people chopping off their dicks is bad. I don't agree with the philosophy. I think I think if you
why do you care about other people fucking and having babies?
Transgender people, can they do that?
Why do you care about other people fucking and having babies?
I don't. I just talked about.
You sure do. You literally used it as an entire point for why you're so scared of trans people.
I'm not scared of people with.
Do you think that protecting the rights of trans people is going to increase the birth rate or decrease the birth rate?
High-pitched giggles do.
What rights? What rights are we protecting?
The rights to not be assaulted for who they are. That's one thing they're super concerned about.
I have never heard of an instance where someone was directly attacked, like walking down the street and mauled for being trans. Never heard it.
Then you just purely aren't looking.
No, I'm not. I'm straight. I don't look for that.
So looking up the news on if transgender people are being murdered is gay?
That seems what Oskar Quentin is doing right now, actually. Quentin.
Just explain that to me. How does looking up news make you gay? Can you explain that? Does it put a penis in your butt?
No, I couldn't read his whole name here. Quentin, Oskar Quentin. Oskar, are you from Minnesota? I would love to talk about this. That's why I'm up here.
Can we not? I will talk about my life in Minnesota and some stuff about me if you substantiate your claim that the Democrats are turning people trans.
That is not my claim, though. My claim is this: Democrats are pushing transgenderism more so than it needs to. I completely agree with protecting everybody's civil liberties. Anybody, I don't care what you do, where you do it, or who you fuck, or how you fuck.
You clearly do.
You made it a whole point.
Then what are we talking about? Why is this the topic if you don't care about any of it?
Because it's you asked me, and that's what I gave you like four things. I said the economics, I said the policy, I said worldview, and you picked worldview, and I went back and said
you used the word pushing. Yes, they are. We are trying to raise awareness for the plight of trans people because they struggle in their lives for a bunch of fucked up reasons that we have to deal with. I gave an example of a different thing. We used autism and schizophrenia as examples. And I said raising awareness about those things isn't necessarily trying to get people to have those situations. And I am not understanding why you think that awareness about the trans issue, awareness about the things that trans people struggle with, is in some way suggesting that the people running those events want to make more people trans. I think that's nonsense. I don't think that's how being trans works. the people who study it are pretty sure that being trans is something that is innate to you, much like being a homosexual. It's just not really something you choose. It's not really how that works. So you're not going to catch transgenderism by being educated about it. In fact, the more you're educated about being transgender and knowing not to call it transgenderism, because that's not really what you should be calling it, the more you get educated about this stuff, the more you understand you're at no risk of becoming a trans person by being exposed to them or understanding them. And I am not understanding what your problem with everything that I just said is.
So that was smart. I mean, I get it to some extent.
I don't think you get it very much.
Devin, may I ask you if you're even educated enough to have an opinion on this topic?
On this topic? Probably not, honestly. It sounds like you guys have done a lot more research than I have on this.
Do you
I misspelled my
sign. What the difference between sex and gender is?
Got to make a new one.
Do what?
Do you even know what the difference between sex and gender is?
Bro, the fact you have to ask that question tells me you have mental problems.
That tells me that you do, because you're rejecting reality. You can't even define
how many genders are there, Raven?
Gender is a social construct, so it's not really relevant.
Like, that's...
Yes, your cackling doesn't actually prove that you know anything about this.
No, it's completely fine, but it just kind of proves my worldview, and that's, whatever. That's
rejecting science, yes, I understand that is your worldview.
So if let me tell you this, let me ask you this. If a scientist goes to, let's just say college, because I hope scientists go to college, for 12 years, and they get out of school and they say, we got to figure out why people want to be the opposite sex, we got to figure it out. And that's what they devote their life to. It's probably not the best scientist. I do not want them building rockets or curing diseases or making medicine.
You have arguably less than a elementary understanding of biology. You think that the scientists that study it above it. Bro, you just told me that
gender is a social construct.
Yes, that's literally why I asked you if you can define the difference between sex and gender.
Because, okay, male and female. Let's go, bro. X, Y, Y, X. You know what I'm saying? That is
sex, male and female, yes. Now do gender.
Yep, male and female.
Why are you laughing, dude? Like this, you're just declaring that these words mean things that they don't. Like, is that your best argument, that you, by some magical authority, declare that those words don't mean what the doctors and psychologists that use them assert that they mean? What is the point in doing that? You're just declaring that you're right by making up a definition.
It's okay. This is all this TikTok shit, but it's fine. It's fine. It's
not TikTok shit. It's real world shit. We're talking about people who have an undue violence rate against them. We're talking about people who are going through an issue that causes a huge self-unaliving rate that people need to deal with. That's why we have gender affirming care for people who are.
It's a mental health problem.
You don't even know what the definition of gender, and you want to start prescribing mental health conditions?
Do you recognize that it is false that gender and biological sex are considered to be the same thing by the experts that study these matters?
Okay, how many genders are there, Oscar?
I asked a yes or no question, and we are not going to move on until you answer it. True or false, gender and biological sex are not considered to be the same thing by the experts who get degrees in fields that allow them to study and engage with these matters out in the real world.
I would say false.
Okay, then you don't speak English. You're refusing to accept the meaning of these words. There's no point in having I'm unwilling to have a conversation with a person who's not willing to define the words of the English language in the way that most people use them. And if you're just going to declare semantically that people who are transgender don't exist, you can go fuck yourself.
I didn't say they didn't exist.
No, and I have a way more nuanced argument than go fuck yourself if you're willing to accept the fact that the word gender is not the same word as sex and doesn't mean the same thing to the people who get college degrees in studying these sorts of things. Until you're willing to recognize that you are just wrong about the definition of that word, I'm unwilling to have a conversation with you, because I'm only good at having conversations in English, and you simply aren't speaking it.
If you want me to talk about this or that, and you want me to look it up and educate myself, I'm happy to.
I'll gladly define them for you if you're willing to.
No, listen. Raven, you think there's more than two genders, dude. I don't need your.
I'm actually going to interrupt to thank Katie for the $5 YouTube super chat and say, fragile straight white men wanting to control others is a mental health condition. Get him, Raven and Oscar. Appreciate you, Katie. And then that one guy with a really long name sent $2 to say to point out that I misspelled my sign today. So thank you for that. Did I spell it correctly? I had to make a new sign. Anyway, so twice I have misspelled the sign in about 100 times making one. So that's how good I am at spelling. Back to the topic at hand. You assert that gender is exactly identical to biological sex. So I ask you this question: why does the word exist at all?
So I just looked it up and I was wrong. Sex, the definition is the biological and physiological traits you are born with. Example, XX or XY chromosomes. And then gender is a person's deeply felt internal sense of being a man or woman. Interesting. So, I mean, it still says XX or XY. And
where does that definition come from?
Yes. Sex is male and female. And then
wait, was that a Google AI blurb?
This comes from the Canadian Institutes of Health Research.
Are you? Yeah. Okay. So, are you reading the Google AI blurb where it then at the bottom says that's the source?
No, I'm on the Canadian CIHR. What the fuck is this? CIHR-IRSC.gc.ca.
Okay. So why did you say Google? I'm just trying to get that right.
Well, that's what I'm using, bro.
Google's not a source. Again, like if we want to be technical and careful, because it sounds like you want to have a technical and careful conversation about this, and I ask for your source, and you say that your source is Google. That's not what a source is. Like if you want to be as careful as you're demanding we are about the definition of words, I'm going to throw it right back in your face and say that you need to be better about providing these sources for things. You need to be better, like Georgia, who sent me $3 on Venmo to say Devin is the ultimate beta. He's famously called that in I'm Really Important's live. Yeah, sounds like I struck a chord with you. I wasn't aware of that, but I guess this guy doesn't like being called beta. I might call him beta, even though I don't really think that's a meaningful word. When you get a chance,
he displays it quite clearly. So.
When you said that like one time, and I can't escape it though.
When you get a chance, ask him who pays the tariffs. He thinks it's the other country. Maybe we'll get to that. We'll see.
Yeah.
So Devin, if the boot fits, you should just wear the title.
If you guys want to have a conversation about something I'm more educated in, like the border or tariffs,
or how about you just admit that we're the more educated ones, and you open your ears and listen, and maybe learn something.
I'm glad he admits he's not educated about trans issues. That's a win.
No, I'm not. I just don't. Why would I be educated about something I don't agree with?
Because it seems to be important.
Understand it. How do you think that you have the right to say that it doesn't exist?
Okay, Raven, I want a 45-second spiel on transgender and what everything I should know about it in your eyes and perspective. As someone who has done very minimal research,
that's a pretty big fallacy to think that I can encapsulate all of the trans experience into 45 seconds, but I'll give you a pretty solid ground definition. So, sex is the body that you're born with, and gender is how you interact with society. We have given these labels, male and female, certain weight and definitions that are fluid every day, and they change continuously throughout history. Back in history, men used to wear wigs, dresses, and makeup, and now women do, so it changes. And so some people are born in a way where their body doesn't align with how they want to interact with society, and so the medical cure for that is to change the body to more closely align with the gender that we feel inside. We're not saying that men can become women or males can become females. We're not saying that. We understand that I am still male, but I interact as a woman. So I've changed my body so that I interact more closely as a female.
Okay. I mean, and I don't disagree with that. Like, I have no problem with trans people. It's just when you push it on everybody and you indoctrinate.
You keep using that word push. You keep using the words push and indoctrinate, and that's what we're pushing back against. You cannot indoctrinate a person to make them trans.
It's like left-handedness. Do you know the statistics of how many people were left-handed when it was unacceptable versus when it started being socially acceptable?
I've got no idea.
Oscar, are you able to pull up that graph? It's
I'll try to find the graph, yeah. But I mean, I think the important thing here is that, like, my mom is one such person. She grew up in a place where it was not socially acceptable to be left-handed, so they made her be a right-handed person. So she writes with her right hand, but she's obviously a left-handed person. She does everything intuitively with her left hand, and it's difficult for her that she had to do it the other way when she was a child, and it ran into some skill and handwriting issues for her. But she would have just been classified as a left-handed person if she grew up in a place that was accepting of it. So I'll try to find the data, but it is a very good analog for what we're talking about. There are, of course, more people who openly identify as trans in a world that's more accepting of trans people. That doesn't mean that anything changed about them. It just means that we're not being assholes to them.
A good example of that is that let me speak for a sec. I was 30 when I started transitioning, and I was a cis-het male, like completely straight, only into women, and, a pretty manly man until about 28 when I finally...
Manly man?
I mean, yeah, I'm a veteran, and I served our country, and I did a damn good job of it.
I appreciate that. Thank you for your service.
You can go fuck yourself.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, well, you deserve it. So maybe if you were less trash of a human being, I would actually, care about the fact that I served
nothing
for
about
you.
me. I just said thank you.
The way you've displayed your whole character on this live is pretty telling.
Go fuck yourself. All right, what are we looking at here? The history of left-handedness.
We're looking at the fact that do you think that around about where this increase in left-handedness is reported by this graph, do you think that more people became left-handed, or do you think that we just started accepting that some people are left-handed and letting them write with their left hand?
It's left hand, right hand, bro. It's like something you're born with. It's like
Raven got a flag for something. Let's see. All right, Raven, you got a harassment and bullying flag. That happens sometimes when we have a get. It happens.
I'm sorry.
I don't think you are.
To do. No, I know. That's not what I'm here for.
Raven knows the risk of coming up here and insulting the guests. Sometimes she gets a flag. Sometimes I get a flag. It's no big deal. The harassment. I mean, we don't have free speech here on TikTok, so we gotta work within the rules, and I have to work pretty hard to navigate these conversations in a way where I don't get flagged, even if I am trying to say something that gets around the TOS. So it's anyway. But yeah, the point of using the left hand analog is that we see the same thing with like autism spectrum disorders. That's another thing we used as an example earlier. Is that obviously the diagnosis rate of autism is increasing, and it's because more parents are willing to get their kids help when they're struggling in school. They're more willing to recognize that it might be a learning disability of some kind. It might be some sort of issue that they need the attention of a medical professional on. So that increases the incidence of these things being diagnosed, which just on paper makes it look like the problem is like suddenly a big deal. But no, it's always been there. We're just doing a better job identifying the people who are struggling with it. And that's what's happening with that. Okay, and that's the only thing that's happening with trans issues is that yes, more people are identifying as trans openly, but nothing about people is changing. The anthropologists know that there have been closeted transgender individuals forever.
Few things that actually. So again, whatever you do, this is America, is freedom. The things that really irk me are the following, right? Men in women's locker rooms, men in women's spaces, girls in women or in men's spaces, vice versa. That's not all right. And then, like, as someone under the age of 18 should not be able to chop their dick off or remove their breast or become...
I'm with you on people under the age of 18 not being able to alter their genitalia with surgery. There's multiple different good reasons for why we shouldn't do that. And I will just tell you, I don't know if you've been misinformed by... It's frustrating that a lot of people on the right point to people like me on the left and say, Oskar Quentin is going to be the type of person who wants children to have their genitals mutilated in surgeries. I'm against circumcision, my guy. We can't make that sort of decision for people when they're below the age of 18. And even if it was a medically sound decision to make, there's reasons not to, because the genitalia aren't developed enough to do the surgery that early. Same reason that you don't get LASIK until your eyes stop changing their prescription, because if you get LASIK before you're done developing, then you just need LASIK again later. Similar issue with the genital structures growing. So I'm actually with you on that particular thing that you said, but I want to go back to a moment before that where you talked about men in women's spaces, because I think that fundamentally what the difference is going to be is that we're talking about males being in spaces that are for, what society considers a woman to be. And I think that a male, a person with a Y chromosome who presents as a woman through their gender identity, has good reason to be in women's spaces. I could argue that, but I just want to take an aside and ask what Donald Trump's good reason for being in women's spaces is, because he went on Howard Stern's show in 2005 and laughed and joked about having a good reason to go into women's only spaces where women didn't have their clothes on and see their beautiful naked bodies. I'd like to know what his good reason is before we waste any time assessing whether or not you actually care about whether or not a person has a good reason to be in a woman's space.
Have you heard of a strip club?
The difference is consent, and you know that. I don't accept your disingenuous question as an answer to what I just said. Why did Donald Trump go into the women's only spaces at his pageants?
He was joking. It's Howard Stern back in the day, that clip you're referring to. I mean, Howard Stern is a comedian, right?
You're talking about Donald Trump.
You're talking about Donald Trump on Howard Stern's comedy show.
Why would he joke about that? Why would he? Well, oh, so funny. I did it. I go into women's spaces without the women's permission. I make up a reason because I own the place under the guise of haha, tongue in cheek. Look at me. I'm like a doctor. Why is that funny? Why is that good? Why does that excuse his behavior?
It's a comedic show, Joe.
Do you think it's funny? I don't find it comedic. Do you find it comedic?
Not necessarily, no.
Okay, then why are you saying all this? I don't find it comedic.
Because
you don't find it comedic. Let's drop the fact that we find it comedic. So I mean, people think this is a comedic show. Should people not take things that you say seriously on it?
I mean, to some extent, right? Have your own opinion, do some research, and live your life from, personally lived experiences. But I mean, I'm glad we agreed to the essence of under 18.
We're gonna stay on the locker room thing. You don't want males in women's spaces, so it's unacceptable. What Trump?
I'm gonna switch.
Do you think that Donald Trump, being the powerful pageant mogul that he was, ex real estate mogul, still a real estate mogul to some extent, but that's what he was more famous for in the 80s and 90s? Yeah. Do you think that him going on Howard Stern and joking, as you say, about that is good for women? Do you think it decreases or increases the likelihood of men coming up with excuses to go into women's only spaces for him to say that? If we are to only look at him saying it on the show because you think he didn't actually do it and he was joking, do you think that what he said on the air increases or decreases the likelihood of women having their women's only spaces invaded by people who don't belong in them? Answer the question.
This is a very rhetorical, trap question, but I would just for the sake of argument, I'll say I probably maybe increases half a percentage. Again, it's a comedic show, so you got to take everything with a grain of salt. I mean,
but I don't think it's funny. You said that you don't think it's fun. No, I said it's not funny. I'm not going to let you. I know you're upset about the rhetorical device that I'm using to trap you in a corner where you have to explain your beliefs to my audience. That's the whole purpose of the show. So I'm not really going to apologize for doing it. But I'm just going to hold you. I'm going to hold you to it. I'm going to say that I don't think it's funny. You said that you don't think it's funny, and you said that yes, it does probably increase the likelihood of bad things happening to women. And I think that that's wholly inconsistent with your concern about trans people using particular bathrooms.
Because that also here's the deal, man. If I don't have kids, but if I do have kids, I hope I have kids. And if I have a daughter and she is playing sports or whatever the case is, they're in the locker room and the school is allowing.
Okay, I'm gonna keep up the analog because right now we haven't moved on to trans people yet. We're gonna get there once we assess that
we're in the locker room. We're talking about the locker room,
right? And I just want to make sure that your thoughts about the locker room are consistent before we bother wasting time pummeling trans people for no fucking reason.
If you say that, then put me in a trap question. You're not asking if
you're gonna call it a trap question because it's a difficult one. You're gonna continue looking terrible on my live because the trap question that I'm gonna ask is we're talking about Donald Trump owning the pageant, so we're actually not talking about the other trans athletes. The proper analog is the coach of the team that your daughter is playing on. Is he allowed in the locker room?
The coach in the women's locker room? No.
Okay, then why is it okay for Donald Trump to do it?
Again, it's a comedic show.
Okay, so imagine the coach of your daughter's team went on Howard Stern and was joking about going into the locker room without their permission because he's the leader of the team or he owns the locker room, whatever exactly it is. Maybe he's the owner of the sporting facility and not exactly the coach of the team. Doesn't actually matter. So he's on Howard Stern laughing about barging in on your daughter who doesn't have her clothes on in the women's only space. Is that acceptable behavior? Would you vote for him for president 20 years after that?
I did vote for him.
Yeah, I understand that. I'm asking about the coach who is now looking at your daughter's naked body in the women's only space that you say people who have Y chromosomes don't belong in.
I did vote for Donald Trump, so I don't know what your point is there.
Right. You voted for a person who intrudes upon women's spaces.
As Donald Trump teaching the women's lacrosse team.
I'm not going to let you out of it. Would you be okay? No. You brought up the hypothetical of your daughter being on a team. Would you be okay? You can't
have a substantive argument. That's
but you're moving.
You're trying to trap me into democratic policy, dude. You have the Somalian flag with fuck ice.
Yeah. You're flailing. You're talking about my flag. You're saying I'm trapping you in democratic policy. I'm trapping you. I'm trapping you in your own beliefs that you brought to my show. True or false? The coach shouldn't be allowed into the locker room just because he's the coach of the team.
Bro, we already answered that question. Next.
Okay, so would it be okay for the coach to joke about doing that on Howard Stern?
Sure.
It would be okay for him to joke about violating your daughter's body on Howard Stern? You would approve of him doing that?
Oh, I wouldn't approve that? No.
Okay, so why do you approve of Donald Trump doing it?
I don't. I mean, again, I don't to the full extent. Like I said, it increases the chance. I already agreed with you that it probably doesn't put the best look on women, and it increases the chance of that happening to them. And I disagree with that wholeheartedly. I already told you that. And if you can't have any sort of other argument besides Donald Trump bad, Donald Trump said
I'm having very specific arguments about things that you've said, and I'm assessing
the border.
No,
what do you think about
we're not going to move on to the immigration, and I'm going to point out that my argument is not Donald Trump bad. I had some very specific arguments about things that you said about trans issues, and it minimizes everything I've said for you to say that my argument is Donald Trump bad. I'm saying specifically what he did on Howard Stern's radio show was bad. You admit that it was bad, and I'm just not understanding how you personally care so much about which bathrooms trans people use when you support a president who behaves in such an irresponsible way when it comes to people being allowed into women's only spaces.
The trans issue in terms of politics and who I vote for is less than 10% of my belief. Maybe less than 5% of my belief. It's not that big of a deal, and I've tried to switch topics into something more reasonable.
Okay, fine. I think I've beat the dead horse enough, so I'll just wrap it up by thanking Turd Burglar's $2 YouTube super chat to say, not a joke, women corroborated the account, which is true. Because I do believe that he did do that. I do believe that multiple people corroborated it from the time. Many of them who were minors at the time that they were involved in this panel. And who's the one girl who put her name out? I think it was Mariah Delgado or something. And I'm going to mix it up. Anyway, you don't care. Let's talk about immigration.
Perfect. The border. So I am from Minnesota originally. I lived there pretty much all my life.
Sorry, just somebody the chat had the name.
No worries. I'm from Minnesota. I'm not sure what part of Minnesota you're from. Are you familiar with St. Cloud?
Yes.
So I watched St. Cloud slowly. I'm not gonna, it's again, it didn't affect me much, but it's to the essence of I watched immigration ruin that town. And for
I'm not interested in your anecdotal experience. If you have data about immigration ruining St. Cloud, I would look at it, but no, I don't care what you looked out the window and saw. I'm not interested in the conclusions that your bias has handed you after you saw a brown person do something.
Then I moved to Texas. Okay. Right.
Where illegal immigration is a way bigger problem than in Minnesota, by the way.
A huge problem. So I watched the border be overrun over and over. I watched the news in the morning. I see thousands of people.
Hold on. I want to understand. You said you watched the border be overrun. What does that mean?
I turned on the news in the morning and seen thousands of people being ushered across our border.
So I think I know the exact video that you're talking about. Is that there was a rumor that was spread in some border town where
it's multiple. It's not one video. It's multiple videos. There was multiple videos for concurrent weeks where thousands of people were ushered across our border. And then there were so many people
ushered. By whom?
They shipped them up to Chicago. They shipped them up to...
Ushered. By whom?
The Kamala Harris, the border.
Kamala Harris was at the border letting immigrants in.
Actually, no, she never went to the border.
Okay, then I'm trying to understand what you saw and how it's evidence for what you're claiming. Who ushered the immigrants in? Who was it physically?
Kamala, no one, because we didn't have border patrol, we didn't have border protection.
Okay, so when you said that you watched a video, so when you just a moment ago, excuse me, we're not going to move on until I understand what you were saying a second ago, because a second ago you said that you watched over the course of weeks multiple videos of thousands of immigrants being ushered across the border. I said ushered. Okay. Oh, by who? Who was the usher? You said Kamala Harris. Then I pointed out that was fucking ridiculous, so you admitted that was wrong. And then when I pressed you on who ushered them, you said no one. So your characterization of people crossing the border is false. You recognize it. It's not like they're being, come here, immigrants, come on in, we're opening the border. That's fucking made up nonsense that you said on my show because you don't like immigrants. Then what do you mean?
Do you believe in deterrence?
I don't think that answers my concern about the videos that you saw.
If
we can talk about deterrence when you explain to me what you were saying about the videos. I'm
going to explain right now.
What did the videos prove to you?
Your fucking headphones on, huh? If the most powerful president in the world says our border is closed, that tells people, holy shit, you can't willy-nilly walk across our border. That's called deterrence. If the most powerful person in the world, our president, Joe Biden, says nothing, does nothing. If the person he appoints to control the border, Kamala Harris, has never actually been to the fucking border, that is the opposite of deterrence. That is that is sending the message.
What did you see in the videos?
Come here.
So what did you see in the videos?
We have free benefits. Have healthcare. I'll ship you to Chicago.
So what is it that you saw in the videos?
Thousands of people being ushered across the border.
Ushered by whom?
Dude, themselves, because there was no border patrol. They literally TPS. Hundreds of thousands.
Why are you using the word usher? So, for example, if I'm in my apartment right now. If I walked out into the hallway, who's ushering me out into the hallway?
Yourself.
Okay. Do you think usher is a reasonable word to use there?
Okay. Thousands of people crossed the border with no vetting. Is that better? Do you like that better?
True or false? The people in the videos were being ushered.
Do you like that better?
Say it again.
Thousands of people walked across our border with no vetting.
So, okay, I will specifically say, I think I actually do know the piece of misinformation that you're referencing, which that there were some videos that came out
but it's not.
You don't even know what I'm offering. You didn't know what I was about to say.
Videos for concurrent weeks.
What was I about to say? If you are so confident that what I was about to say is wrong, what was it that I was about to say?
I know exactly what piece of misinformation you're talking about. It was a smear campaign.
That's not what I said. That's not what I was going to say. I wasn't going to say it's a smear campaign. You don't know what I was going to say, but I was going to say that I think I have good information that suggests that what you saw was misinformation. Are you interested in hearing that?
Sure.
Okay, and I am going to get to what the chat is demanding at this point, which is that I think we need to watch the videos, and I'd love for you to provide them, because I remember a story like this one, and I think we're talking about the same one, where there was a rumor spread in a Mexican border town that there was a point of entry along the border where people could get free asylum status. This rumor spread like wildfire, and a ton of people showed up, so there's a video of like a big crowd of migrants going to the border, like, it looks like a big video of people crossing the border. They weren't allowed in. It was a rumor. It was false. So, the video looks like, oh my God, look at this big wave of people approaching this fence. This must be the big wave of migrants being ushered in. What I'm saying is that from where I'm sitting right now, I'm not 100% confident in this because I haven't seen the video that you're talking about, and I can't tell you if it's the one that I'm thinking of, but I think I am thinking of the video that you saw, and it was just this like fuck up where like somebody spread a rumor and had a bunch of people show up to get asylum, which they were not granted. So do we want to look at the video? Is it time for that?
I'm working on it as we speak. My computer just died. I don't have the setup that you do.
That's great. Yeah, I'm not gonna fault you for not working quickly. I'll take a moment to thank Alana for the $5 on Venmo. She said, MAGA, Trump admitting to SA won't influence boys men to do the same. Also MAGA, gay media is making people gay. These people are exhausting. Also, if a joke, what's the punchline? Yeah, I know we kind of moved on, but it is hilarious that you're concerned about Democrats turning people trans, but you're not concerned about the president turning people into sexual assaulters by laughing and joking about sexually abusing women on Howard Stern or in the Access Hollywood tapes, or actually doing it, or being found civilly liable of it, or hiding the evidence of hundreds of people doing it to thousands of women and children in the Epstein files. Never mind all of that. We're going to keep talking about immigration because you were super afraid of talking to me about that topic. But thank you for the $5. I appreciate it. And I'm also going to thank Lieutenant Gravy for the $5 on YouTube Super Chat. He pointed out that Kamala Harris visited the border in 2024, Douglas, Arizona, Mexico. Yeah, I believe it. But I doubt there were thousands of people arriving there. So if you're gonna find the video, we could try to figure out what the source on it is and what's going on in it.
I want to ask you something though before my computer's working on it. It's getting booted up. You said that there was a rumor. There was a rumor spread around, and that's why people showed up to the border.
I recall from like a year or two ago a particular news story where that happened. I think that's what you're describing. I'm not certain.
But here's the difference between Biden's border and Trump's border. A rumor like that, it can't get spread around right now because our border is closed.
What's the difference? They didn't get what difference does it make? They didn't get let in.
They did get let in, and they gave them
no, they didn't.
Yes, temporary protection.
No, they didn't.
Yes.
Nope. In the example I'm talking about, a bunch of people showed up because they thought there was.
What about the example I'm talking about?
I'm asking for proof of the example you're talking about, but I am just saying that the example that I'm talking about is one where nobody crossed the border. It was just a video of a bunch of people arriving at the border because they thought they'd be let in, but they weren't. That's like a
What did they do with the people after that?
I don't know. They weren't in America. What difference does it make?
So they sent them back to Mexico. They didn't.
They just did. They went up to the door. The door was locked. The end.
And then they just sat at the door and knocked until we gave them food and shelter and medical supplies.
Well, you're just making up. You're just making up things that would make this story that I'm telling one that you wouldn't like. But I'm just saying a bunch of people came to the border expecting to be
humanitarian crisis.
That doesn't have anything to do with what we're actually talking about.
It has everything to do with what we're talking about. And if you can't acknowledge that that was a humanitarian crisis...
What does that have to do with whether or not those people...
by the Biden administration?
I said that these people weren't allowed into the border. You asserted that they were given food and shelter. I'm saying that they weren't. And then you're bringing up Biden's border being a humanitarian crisis. And these are just like related, like ad-lib kind of word salad type of things. But we're not actually staying on the through line, which is that I don't think it has anything to do with anybody's border policy if a rumor spreads and a bunch of people show up at the border and aren't allowed in.
Do you believe in legal immigration?
Sure.
How many legal immigrants do you think the United States should bring in every single year?
Oh, that's a hard fucking problem. A lot. Our birth rate's kind of low. It gets helped by immigration, so probably several hundreds of thousands, if not a small number of millions.
So a small number of millions.
I mean, that'd be a lot. I'm okay with it being an enormous number. Yeah, it helps with our birth rate. Immigrants, illegal or otherwise, are generally beneficial to the country, both in their effect on the tax burden and how they affect the economy and growing industries in America. So for
legal
all
immigrants, correct?
Both.
So we should have 1 million legal immigrants. How many illegal immigrants do you think we should ship in?
I would. Who is shipping illegal immigrants in?
No, let in. I misspoke.
Oh, okay. I would prefer the number be 0.
So you disagree with? Wait, you disagree with illegal immigration?
I would prefer that the number of people who break the laws regarding immigration be 0. That would be my preference. Yeah, I think that you and I have very different ways of going about achieving that. But yeah, I don't like want there to be undocumented individuals in the country.
Okay, so we agree. Okay, that's good.
I think we agree on like a very basic thing, which is that it's bad for a person to not be documented. I think we disagree probably about everything.
Also on my end.
I don't think that... No, vetted is not a word I'm willing to accept because we actually don't vet citizens. Like, for example, I'm unvetted. I was born here. The government doesn't know about me. They never checked if I was a bad person. They never...
have a driver's license?
I do.
Okay.
Actually, that's one. I'm going to give you a tiny W because that's actually one avenue where I think we probably do agree, which is one of the reasons I don't like illegal immigration is because a lot of people need cars to function in their lives in this country, and illegal immigrants are incentivized to break traffic laws by not having driver's licenses or not having a properly registered vehicle, maybe one they just like bought for cash on Facebook Marketplace or something.
Dude, I need my computer to turn on because
wait, let me finish. I'm fine. Let's focus on the common ground for a dang second. I don't like that so many illegal immigrants drive illegally. I think they should have driver's licenses, but because they're not even allowed to get driver's licenses, they don't, so they break the rules, and I don't blame them for breaking the rules because they're driving to a job to make a little bit of money to feed their family, and I'm just not going to blame a person for violating traffic laws instead of failing to feed his family. So I just think that it would be better if we gave... I'm a mass amnesty guy. I want to give most of these people a path to legal residency quickly, and that would solve the fact that a lot of them drive without a driver's license, which is one of the negative results of illegal immigration, is that we don't let them have driver's licenses.
I want to talk about that because Wisconsin...
I still want to see the video. I know your computer's booting up.
Trust me, I've got this thing plugged in the fastest charger in my crib right now.
Just don't want it to get lost. I could also search for it myself, but I don't know what to search.
Okay, back to the ID thing because it's crucial. Wisconsin gave out, I think it was like the number was like 15,000 licenses. They just handed them out to immigrants. No tests, no nothing, none of this. They just said, here, take a driver's. Minnesota did the exact same thing.
Wait. They gave away driver's licenses without testing people?
Yes.
I don't. Yes. I need a source for that. That sounds like bullshit.
My computer just booted up, my friend.
Two things. I'd like proof, and 2, if that happened, that's bad.
But that ties into Democrat policies trying to ship in as many people as possible and ingrate these people.
Ship in. You used the phrase again. Yes. Who is shipping illegal immigrants into the United States?
Bro, if you don't,
you used the word earlier in the conversation. We got stuck on ushered, and you admitted that wasn't the right word. And now I'm asking you what ship in means, and then you immediately responded by just a moment ago saying if you don't deter. And I am just going to keep catching it and throwing it back in your face and saying that failing to stop something is not the same thing as promoting it or ushering it or shipping it in or intentionally causing it to happen. That's just different, and it's disingenuous to use that sort of language around it. It's the sort of linguistic trick that people on the right use to misrepresent this information, and I am just too good at speaking English, too good at listening to people talk to let you keep fucking doing it. If you do it again, we're going to spend another 3 minutes talking about it because it's reprehensible behavior that makes you lose credibility in this conversation, that you keep falling back on these words, usher and ship in, that we have demonstrated are just simply not accurate words to talk about what's happening. I will keep pointing it out if you keep doing it. The conversation will stay on the tracks better if you don't stop, if you do stop falling back on these things that we've already thrown out in this conversation because you yourself recognize they're the wrong words to use.
Well, my fault.
It is your fault.
My fault.
Mm-hmm.
People.
While you're muttering and Googling, I will tell everybody that if you enjoy the show, if you like watching me call people out for continuing to use the word usher after we have decided it is not a good word to use, you can go to the link tree in my bio and support the show for free by following me on the other platforms. In particular, I have lately been shouting out that people should follow my other 2 TikTok accounts, Oskar Quentin 2 and Oskar Quentin Music. They're both approaching 1,000 followers, and that'll make them a little safer to have live privileges for when this account eventually gets banned for some bullshit. I would still like to be able to do the show every day come such a time, and I'm worried those accounts don't have the traction they need for it to work out. So if you want to go do that, that helps out a lot. That's a goal I have for right now, and it doesn't cost a dime. And if you have a dime that you want to spare, you can gift it to me through one of the platforms you're watching the show on, or you can go to the link tree and send me that money on Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon, because I do the show full time. This is my job. I got bills to pay, so I do need to keep pressing the audience to keep the show running because of viewers like you. Thank you for listening to the ad read. Have you found your source?
Okay. Here's 3. There's 4. There's 5.
What do you?
There's 6. Look at the amount of people sitting at our border here. Thousands of migrants were LA Times.
I can't see what you're seeing.
Why not? My camera's on.
No, it's not. And
it should be.
And I would. It's actually good. Wait here. Just look. Okay, wait. So what do I search to pull that up? Because I'd much rather have it on this window than the blurry.
Gotcha. Thousands of people crossing the border.
Thousands of people crossing the border.
And then look at image.
Okay, wait, here, hold on. I am actually gonna expand you. Just show me what it was, so I make sure I have the right one. Put your camera back up, so I can make sure I'm clicking the same one.
Smokes. All right, so migrants crossing the border. That's one. The Atlantic. Thousands of migrants are crossing the border.
Okay, slow down.
Illegal border crossings.
Slow down. Atlantic.
Record number.
We're gonna look at them, dude. Like, this is what we're doing. So we're gonna look. So the Atlantic. I'm gonna go to Google.
Look at this one.
Okay.
This one.
Okay, I'm trying to.
At U.S.-Mexico border.
I am trying to look at it. The Atlantic has a video. I'm not finding it.
I can pull it up.
The whole assignment was to find the video you were talking about. You're just showing me images of crowds of people who, like, aren't white.
Does this count as shipping people in?
A caravan? Who's doing the shipping?
A caravan of 7,000 migrants showed.
Okay, I'm gonna close it down.
Does that count? Should we look? Let's look.
There are migrant caravans. That is a thing that happens. It is a separate thing than your homework assignment, which was to specifically show me the video of thousands of people crossing the border. What do I search to find that video?
Man.
Yeah, I know. It's hard proving the bullshit that you believe because it's bullshit. You need to find the video. That's the assignment. If you give me an article headline and the website that it's published on, I will pull it up and show it to everybody. I'm 100% willing to look carefully at whatever you brought. But a bunch of thumbnails of crowds of people with truncated headlines because there's 3 words and then ... Like, that's not evidence. That doesn't show me what the content of those are. Oh, he left. He ran. For fuck's sake. I didn't even notice. My goodness. Another runner. Doesn't want to look for the evidence. We spent a long time trying to get him to find that video. Did I miss any YouTube super chats? I probably did. No, I didn't. We're good. Okay. Yeah, just like, I think I was right, by the way. I do think I know the exact particular flavor of bullshit that was in his mouth. And it was a video where a rumor got spread that there was like free asylum being given away at the border. So a big crowd of people showed up at the border, but they weren't allowed in. Just, yeah. Anyway, thanks for supporting the show, everybody. I really enjoy that. This is my full-time job now. So thanks for all the donations and stuff. We're gonna talk to Bray, Brey. I don't believe I've spoken to this person before, so maybe we're in for something new. How old are you?
21. Dirty black nigger.
Did he run, or did one of the mods beat me to it? Let's see. We're gonna talk to Serial Killer. I'm gonna see if that's I gotta remember on Saturdays to hover my finger on the disconnect button. Those are Trump supporters. Serial Killer, how old are you?
Oh boy, I did not mean to request that. Sorry.
No worries. It was an accidental connect. That happens sometimes. We're gonna talk to a soft non-farmer. We're gonna see if he's just gonna scream a slur and run or what. How old are you? Hello? Hello? Wait, Devin's back. Let's see if you found the video. Did you find the video, Devin?
What's up, brother?
Did you find the video?
What happened there? I don't know why I left. Yeah, I got 2 of them for you.
Okay, what do I search to find them?
To find more of them.
What do I
CNN, migrant crossings are spiking. See what it looks like on the southern border.
Okay, see what it looks like. Okay, so which of these articles am I supposed to click? Or,
that one. Top one right there.
The top one?
Yep.
Okay.
Top one.
Okay, so we've got a photograph of...
it's a video.
Okay, hold on. U.S. authorities are apprehending record levels of migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border on a daily basis, stretching already overwhelmed resources. Okay.
Yeah.
When was this from? This is probably Biden.
2023.
Right? 2023, okay.
Yep.
That's what I'd expect.
Obviously, the border's a mess, dude. Come on.
Oh,
the video's at the very top.
I was just going to see if there was an article that summarized it, because it's a little... I don't know if I want to watch a whole CNN video. I was just hoping for the exact video that you said that physically showed a bunch of migrants crossing the border.
Of migrants crossing the southern U.S. border.
So you can kind of zip through that just very briefly. But look at
it's 2 minutes.
Wait,
it's 2 minutes. Let's just watch it.
Last week is
I've got another one for you.
Per day.
9,600 per day. Look at these numbers, man.
Dude, if you just yell over the whole video, I'm going to start it back at the beginning. Can you be patient? We spent a long time letting you find this. Can we actually watch it and assess what it's about instead of you just yelling over the whole thing?
Sure.
Okay. And I'm not going to mute you. I could. I just want you to have to exercise your patience. And if you're unable to not interrupt the source that you brought to show my audience, I think that's a demonstration of the type of debater that you are. So just pipe down.
Since earlier this year, in the days before the lifting of the COVID-era restriction known as Title 42. Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez says the situation is spiraling out of control again.
Border Patrol agents are doing everything they can to take care of the situation, but they are completely overwhelmed, completely just overwhelmed with the situation, and it's getting worse.
This spot along the Rio Grande and Eagle Pass, Texas, is the focal point of the southern border migration crisis. Despite miles of razor wire, steel containers on the riverbank, and thousands of federal, state, and local authorities on the ground, thousands cross this spot every day.
It's going up and up and up.
Sheriff Tom Schmerber says a zero-tolerance immigration...
Okay, so I think we've watched far enough for me to understand what's going on here. It is true that at this time, there were thousands of people crossing the border per day. That's accurate. But when you said that you saw a video of thousands of people physically crossing the border, that was you just imagining what you saw instead of seeing what you saw in this video, which is a couple people crossing the river, and the fact that, across the whole, region.
Another one. I got another one. Sky News, United States, 8,000 migrants travel to the southern border as election looms.
Is it accurate what I just said?
That people were showing up to the border, or...
Were you listening?
If you look up that... Yes, I was listening.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the video that... Okay, so then what did I say about the video that we just watched?
The video you just watched, dude. Like, you were like, yeah, thousands of people were crossing. That is true, but these few people, you just essentially brought something up because you want to make a point, and there's
okay. So I don't think you listened to my point, because that doesn't encapsulate what my concern was about what the video that you said that you have and what this video shows. Because I'm not going to deny that there was an unusual amount of illegal immigration during the second half of Biden's term. I talk about it all the time on the show. There are a lot of reasons for that have to do with things that are out of control of the U.S. president. This is during an unprecedented time, not just in American history, but in global history.
Disagree with that.
You don't think that the COVID-19 pandemic was an unprecedented time in global history?
You don't think the president controls the border?
I don't think that he has enough control over the border. That's not what I said. I didn't say that the president. Exactly what you just said. I said that there are reasons that cause illegal immigration that are out of control of the president. I didn't say that the president has no control over the border. You made that leap.
So when Trump got into office, signed an executive...
I'm not going to let you just ignore what we're talking about and move on, dude.
That's called the president having control. That's the president having control.
Yes, the president has authority.
Exactly the president... And to disagree with that and disengage from that point is completely irrelevant.
If I live in Mexico... If I live in... No. Words matter, as the chat is pointing out. And I'm going to say that, yes, of course, the president has some influence over border enforcement. It would be silly to suggest otherwise. Do you recognize that there are global factors that influence the decision-making of people who choose to immigrate illegally, and the president doesn't really have control over those things?
It's called deterrence. I would
yes or no? Do you recognize that there are external reasons that the president doesn't have control over that influence?
I'm going to agree to disagree.
You don't think that there are external reasons? You think the only reason that a person would illegally immigrate is because of a decision made by the president? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes.
That's fucking nonsense.
He says the border is open. We're giving you health care. Come take our benefits. We're handing.
You're not answering my questions.
Like Minnesota.
No, you're not answering my questions.
That's called. Yes. That's called incentive, is what that's called. Okay,
so for example, let's say that there was an economic emergency in Mexico and things got really, really bad there, and a bunch of people were like, oh my God, Mexico, the jobs market's terrible, the grocery stores don't have food. So a bunch of people decided to then go to the border and illegally immigrate, and because the president can't catch everybody, the enforcement efforts aren't 100% successful, that would increase the amount of illegal immigration. In my hypothetical that I just laid out, is it the president's fault if that happens?
In your hypothetical, the president didn't deter people from doing that. In your hypothetical, the president said, if you show up at our border, you can walk in. You can get a driver's license. We'll give you benefits.
That's not what my hypothetical was. We can't talk about reality if you're not able to handle even just simple logic about how this stuff works. If you were president and I was in Mexico, just to spite you, I could make a sprint and cross the Rio Grande and say, look, he let me in. Did you fail to deter me?
If I didn't sit down and have a press conference saying no one can come here.
You keep adding this extra data. You need to recognize that there are things that are outside of the president's control. The president doesn't have absolute control over the border. You recognize that, right?
Dude, he is the most powerful person in the world.
Then why was there illegal immigration? Then why was there illegal immigration at all during during Trump's first term? Why was there illegal immigration during President Trump's first term?
Because he can't get everybody. And he was building a wall. The wall wasn't built yet. It was his first time in office. I mean, the dude was he's not a career politician.
Right. So that's in alignment with what I just said, which is that the president doesn't have perfect, exact control over everything. He's not God. He's not Superman. He can't stop time, go punch every illegal immigrant in the face that's trying to cross the Rio Grande and prevent them from coming in. That's fucking nonsense. Enforcement efforts are effective to a degree, and if the amount of people trying to commit the crime
of... How did you do it the second time?
Like violating so many people's civil rights in America that people are afraid of coming here.
Civil rights in America.
Yes, by violating people. That
sounds like deterrence. That sounds like deterrence, my friend. Is what that sounds like.
It is true.
You can't come in.
Excuse me.
Unless it's legal. You can't come in.
It is true that Donald Trump has deterred people from illegally immigrating by violating people's constitutional liberties. Do you think that was worth doing?
I don't think you can violate a non-citizen's constitutional authorities.
Yes, you can.
I don't think that's possible, my friend.
No. That's completely wrong. Whoa. Do you think that...
If you are not a citizen, you do not have constitutional liberties.
That's false. That's not how the Constitution works. The Constitution does protect human rights and
civil... That's not how the Constitution works.
Yes, it is. You're wrong about that. The Constitution is specific about whether it's talking about all persons or citizens. Most of the rights in the Constitution are just for citizens, but there's a bunch of really important ones that are for all humans, all persons, including illegal immigrants.
Are you talking about birthright citizenship right now? Is that what
among
you're referring to?
due process, right to search and seizure? There are a bunch of things that everybody has a right to, that it's not just citizens. You can get upset about one particular amendment that you don't like, but you just said something that demonstrates to me that you don't understand the law about this stuff at all. Never mind the fact that I can't pin you down on any of these actual questions about what we were talking about. I'm way more interested in your confidence about the fact that the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, the amendments and articles, they apply to, in many cases, all persons. Do you recognize that you were wrong about that?
So what civil liberties did he break? Did he to create this deterrence? Please.
ICE is entering homes without a judicial warrant. There's one example. I'll take a moment while you chew on that to thank Tavi for the $10 YouTube super chat. He says, Caller, this video is from a time where the president of the U.S. and the president of Mexico were having this issue. Border security of a country is not exclusively under one country's authority. That's true. There's also the Mexico side. Tavi sent me another $10 to add. Also, both presidents addressed this. There were not migrants. These were not migrants from Mexico. These were migrants from all over the Western Hemisphere due to a plethora of worsening living conditions from a pandemic. Again, I was trying to get to also the fact that yeah, okay, so you recognize that the demand for illegal immigration, the amount of people trying to do it increased because of the pandemic, and any president who isn't able to stop 100% of illegal immigration is still going to have the illegal immigration increase if that demand increases in the way that it did as a result of the pandemic. But you didn't seem interested in that.
Not by hundreds of thousands of people, though, dude. That's the difference. Like, it's not...
Yeah, that doesn't apply. It literally was hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah, that's because Joe Biden was completely... He's an idiot. I mean, he's just dumb. Okay,
I don't want to get stuck. Yeah, you're just like hurling insults at the guy instead of actually talking about the facts of the matter. But I just want to... True or false? True or false? The Constitution applies to everybody, not just citizens. There are rights in it that are only granted to citizens, but the whole document is clear about which is which. Do you recognize that as true?
Yeah.
Okay, then why did you say with such confidence earlier that the Constitution doesn't say anything about non-citizens? Because it does.
Well, you said he broke civil liberties of people to deter people, and you didn't answer what civil liberties he broke.
I did.
You said judicial warrants, something about ICE and judicial warrants.
Yeah, I said ICE is entering homes without judicial warrants. Oh, I have to remove you for what? Let's see. Harassment and bullying? I don't even think you were all that... Yeah. Sorry. I didn't want to disconnect you on that one. What a mess, man. Like, there's no talking about this with somebody who's just going to move on about everything. Ashley sent me a buck on Venmo to say, hey, Oscar, my neighbor who is a registered Dem but voted for Taco did so for what seems like the same Devin is claiming. I'd like to educate her. When there's a chance, can I come up and share what she told me? I don't have enough space to describe what she told me on Venmo. Yeah, if I don't know if I'm going to have friendly time today. It kind of depends on how the show goes, but you are welcome to call in towards the end of the show. And if you also just want to talk about it, you can just message me. I don't respond to all my messages because there's a huge pile of them, but I do read all of my messages on the various platforms still. Instagram's the fastest way to reach me. But I just, if somebody has like a question or something to discuss, I usually do answer the messages. It's just, I've gotten to a point where there's so much fan mail where a lot of the fan mail is just like, hey, great job, Oscar. And I'm not going to copy and paste thanks to a bunch of people, but I don't have time to sit and thank everybody who says that. But yeah, it's a shame that guy got kicked because I feel like we were getting to the interesting thing here, which is that he had this belief about illegal immigrants do have rights. That's something that he didn't seem to understand. And it is true, as a matter of fact, that illegal immigration is down quite a lot during this current Donald Trump term. It is because he is violating people's civil liberties. They are afraid of coming here, and that's just not a good thing. The Constitution is more important than deporting illegal immigrants. That's something that's a hill I'll die on. We're going to talk to Native Newbie 4. And maybe we'll talk to Devin another day, because I feel like he wasn't done with me. But he got kicked for harassment and bullying. I think because he was talking, it was probably what he was saying about Joe Biden. He was saying that his brain had turned to mush or whatever, which is, I think it kind of was, but it's just not really relevant to the issue of immigration, I don't think. And also, Donald Trump's brain is turned into mush. Native newbie number 4 isn't connecting, so I'm going to disconnect them. Remind everybody to go to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon, and send me money so I can pay my bills by running the show, because that's the goal, to run the show every single day for the foreseeable future. We're going to talk to Frank Rizzo, who is a bit of a regular, which is why I skipped you in the queue, but the other person didn't connect. So Frank Rizzo is 51, I think. Am I remembering correctly? I'm trying to get better about...
Buddy.
Did I get it right? Are you 51?
58, close enough.
Okay.
I wish
Okay.
51.
No, yeah.
And just so you know, my real name, I'll give you my real name. It's Neil, Neal. So
Neil. Well, nice to meet
Yes.
you more formally
Nice
then.
to
What are we
Yes,
discussing
nice to
today?
meet you. Well, I just want to talk about the gender. I mean, I know it's been about an hour, but
Okay.
so how this came about is in 1945 and 1955, two scientists came together, wrote a book about gender identity. Listen, I know homosexuality exists. I know transgender exists. I'm not denying that.
Okay.
But I forget how old you are, and I'm glad that's very good that you remember my age. Close enough.
Close enough. I'm 30.
30. So you don't remember. 1986, there was a barge, you being from Lower Manhattan, parked off of Staten Island that wanted to go into Fresh Kill's dump.
Oh yeah, I'm aware of the scandal. Yeah,
So he wrote that book.
We New Yorkers have been arguing with New Jersey about where we're going to dump our trash for decades.
No. This gentleman wasn't allowed to dump his trash. So within a year, he wrote a book about how recycling is going to save the United States, it saved the world.
Okay.
And empirical data says it's not. It's costing us billions of dollars. Right now, China's not taking our recyclables, yada, yada, yada. So I'm just getting down to the book. I'm always quick with you. So this last guy was real long. So the gender, what's it called? I forget the dysphoria or something.
Gender dysphoria, kind of outdated term these days. The DSM doesn't have it anymore, but yeah, that's what it was called for a long time.
I apologize. Well, just like the R word used to be doesn't matter. We're getting off the subject. But they wrote this book. This is why people started accepting it, just like we accept recycling. So, I mean, to say that this is something that's definitely going on, you can't take what two scientists that try to become billionaires off of as science. I mean, these guys, they were scientists, they were psychologists.
I'm not understanding. Are you suggesting that because this particular book was written by these guys, like that this discourse around the transgender topic comes from them?
Yeah,
I don't think that's accurate. I think that whether or not they did that, it still would have been an issue.
I don't believe so. I mean, let's talk about so do you know this term, ziggy zaggy?
Sorry for interrupting. I just want to thank Araxis for $3 on Cash App because the message pertained to the previous call. He said Republicans said that the border was open, not Joe. Yeah, it's the language around that's all messy, but maybe we'll talk with Devin another day. Sorry for interrupting, Neil.
No, that's more important. That's how you make your living. I'm fine with that. I told you that
before. Appreciate that.
No, so that term, ziggy zaggy, oi, oi,
ziggy, oi, oi. Yeah, I know the chant.
That, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
So that was Jimmy Kimmel. So back in the 80s when Trump did go on, I think it was early 90s.
Isn't that a rugby chant from like New Zealand or Australia or something?
No, it was from the Man Show. I thought you knew that.
Was it from the Man Show? I thought.
Man Show.
No, I think this is cultural appropriation. Doesn't it come from rugby?
I don't think so.
I'm gonna Google it.
The Man Show.
I want to get it right.
That's fine, but I know it's from the Man Show, who Jimmy Kimmel and Adam Carolla both were on. But to say that what was going on back then was acceptable, absolutely. What he said back then was acceptable. He was trying to sell the show, his. I
was right. I was right. It's Australian, and before that, it was British and German. But so it made it to America because of the Man Show, maybe. But I knew some of the other.
Okay, that's fine. I'm just saying when the Man Show.
Close enough.
They really, yeah. They exploited women on that show back in the 80s and 90s, early 90s. I'll say it was acceptable for people to exploit women, and time goes on. Of course not. So what you're going to say? So. A lot of people said stuff in the past that was acceptable that today isn't. I mean, and I'm sorry to bring up Joe Biden, but Joe Biden has said stuff. Everyone has said stuff in the past, and then they turn their view around. So to harp on this thing about should he have gone in the back of the Miss America pageant, whatever the pageants. I mean, you know what? If you own the product, yeah. Do male coaches in colleges go into female locker rooms?
Hold on. Wait. You said it.
We're jumping around.
We're jumping around a lot, but you said something interesting, which is if you own the product. In that sentence, what's the product?
The women are the product. Unfortunately, that's why you don't.
Pageant owner does not own the women.
He owns that. You sign a contract with
Does a Starbucks own a barista?
No, but does American Idol own those people that go on the show?
They don't. They don't. They're human beings. They still have the right to bodily. They still have the right to bodily autonomy.
Yes, but they don't have a right to make a living off their singing afterward. Unless
they might make a contract that has to do with their performance rights, and that's like a problem in the industry. That has nothing to do with bodily autonomy, has nothing to do with Donald Trump's authority to see their naked bodies.
Listen, I don't know what the contract stated, and neither does anyone else.
Doesn't matter what the contract stated, because it's against the law in this country to have a contract that states that a person is allowed to do anything sexual to you. It's null and void the moment they revoke consent. It's not how that works. So it doesn't matter what the contract said at all.
Okay, so when we had to allow women into men's locker rooms after the games because they weren't allowed, they couldn't get the full interview with the athletes. That the male
consent is the difference. Consent is the difference. Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
If the people in the locker rooms, no, you can't get consent by a contract. I explained that because for example, let's say that I was really sexually attracted to you, Neil, and I really wanted to have sex with you, but it's a long way to drive to your house. So I wanted a contract that said that we're definitely going to have sex if I come over. You're still allowed to decline the sex if I show up.
Absolutely.
Right, absolutely. Because you can't be contractually obligated to do anything sexual. You're allowed to revoke consent at any time. So even if the contract said that Donald Trump is allowed to be in there, like a woman is allowed to revoke her consent if she's nude.
Absolutely, I'm not going to disagree with that. But going into it, I don't know. Listen, I don't know if he went back there or not. I can't answer that. Neither can anyone else. I mean, there are some contestants that say he did, others that say they don't. It doesn't matter. That was the past. It's over. We can't go back in the past. It's like when Andrew Dice. I know we're going between two subjects. Andrew Dice Clay used to say, "Hey, I don't know if you remember that skit. These transvestials and stuff like that." Now I use that to what's that called?
But Trump said that he went into those spaces without the consent of the people in those spaces.
I don't know if he said without consent. He said he owned it. He was allowed to go back there.
Why does he need the reason that he owns it and he's going in there to do an inspection like a doctor or whatever? Why does he need that reason if he has consent?
Because I told you, because he owns. He owns the show. I mean,
it's not. But we just explained how that's not relevant. Doesn't matter.
I mean, so you're saying the women know that he's going to go back there because he owned it for how many years? 10 years? I forget when he purchased it.
Let me ask you a question. If we had a trans person who owned a beauty pageant, would they be allowed to barge into the locker rooms, the dressing rooms?
I believe so. I don't know. I know that what's those shows? When they have the shows, the transvestite shows, I don't want to call it by the wrong name.
Transvestite is the correct term if we're talking about drag
shows. They have
drag shows. If we're talking about drag, look, I just want to educate you because I know you're a little uneducated about this. Just so you know, drag queens, people who like cross dressers, men who dress as women. That's not. It's like kind of related culturally, but it's just so you know, it's totally a different thing than being trans. I could put on a dress for fun and take a picture and say how silly, and that's me being a transvestite. It's not that I'm being.
Yeah,
I just want you to understand. I'm not trying to attack you or anything.
Listen to me. I don't know too many men that are straight that do that. I mean, I don't know. Listen, I dressed up.
Doesn't matter. Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, and then the Halloween thing's a good example because you have fun doing it on Halloween, but maybe somebody else has fun doing it in the club on Friday night, and that makes them a transvestite. But it doesn't make them a trans person. This is just different categories.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just saying. But you just said going back in the show, do they have a right? Yeah, they do, unfortunately, but that's just the way it works.
They don't, though.
I mean, it's becoming that way, but I'm telling you, in the 80s and 90s, it
bad.
was acceptable. Right?
Well, yeah, that was bad. Do you think that the practices around women's rights in the workplace were good in the 80s and 90s compared to today?
No. I had to think about that for a second.
Yeah, they were bad. They were bad. And one of the ways in which they were bad is that it was more acceptable for men who were involved in these sorts of businesses to overreach their power and use it for personal gain, personal sexual gain. That's sexual exploitation. If you under the guise of some inspection, which I'll just be straightforward, the joke that Donald Trump is telling when he was on Howard Stern, like he did do the tongue-in-cheek thing of saying, well, I'm going in to inspect it. I'm just going to say that you are being willfully ignorant of the tone and the context of what he was saying if you pretend that was serious, that he meant that seriously. Why on earth is he on Howard Stern talking about an inspection that he did of one of his businesses? That's not the point of what he's saying. The point of what he's saying is that he got to see naked women, and the reason he got to see naked women is because he got to say, oh, guys, I'm doing an inspection because I own the place. I just think you're failing to recognize.
Yeah, sorry.
You know he meant that he was using it as an excuse to see the women naked, right?
I'm not using it. I don't know what. I can't get into somebody else's mind. If I was getting
no, and that's the step you're taking that I'm calling you out for. I think it is horse shit for an adult to listen to him say that and think that if you listen to that interview and you think that there's a chance he's being serious about needing to do an inspection and that's the reason he's back there, I'm just going to accuse you of being a bad person who wants to defend somebody who's doing something bad to women. Because I've talked to you too much, Neil, to think that you're that bad at speaking English, to think that you lack those sorts of social skills.
I'm saying it's not that. I just think he was selling his product, which was the pageant. As Howard Stern, like an hour later, was.
In what way is he better able to sell? In what way is he better able to sell his product if he advertises the fact that he sexually exploits women?
You're way younger than me. So when we would be at bars, even to this day, when women walk past, men are always saying something. You could always catch men looking at women. It just helps him. You know, a guy's going to turn around and probably say, "Oh man, he got to see that naked." So people are going to want to see what's going on. It's just human interest. Do I think he was
right? So that might actually sound right. The fact that Donald Trump, the rapist, thinks that other guys will think it's cool what he did to those women. Why do you think it's cool?
Oh, I don't care if it's cool or not. I would never exploit my daughter that way, or any woman I do that way. Listen, I yell at my daughter-in-law. Would you let lemon things?
Would you let your daughter into a beauty pageant run by Donald Trump?
I wouldn't let my daughter go into a beauty pageant run by Mother Teresa. It's a beauty pageant.
Why?
Because it's exploitation of women ever since I'm a kid.
Okay, so never mind what he said on Howard Stern. Donald Trump made a multi-million-dollar business of exploiting women.
That's his what he wanted to do, and there was a lot of people that backed it.
Okay,
I'm not going to argue that.
Okay, so just never mind the locker rooms. You think the whole enterprise is exploitation of women, which I think I kind of agree with you on.
Absolutely was.
But okay, so and you support Donald Trump?
I support him as the president right now. Yes.
What percentage of people in this country are women?
Oh, I think it's more than men, so it's probably 70%. I'd say. I don't know. Isn't it like 5 to every 1 or something?
No. Both of those numbers are very different from each other.
But I don't know. You asked me. I don't know.
It's close to 50%. It is slightly more women, but by a very small. It's like 51-49 or something like that. Okay, so you just said that it's fair to call Donald Trump's whole enterprise as a pageant runner massive amounts of exploitation of women for money, for profit, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. About half the people in the country are women, so you're okay with the person who runs the country being a person for like a decade of their life ran their multi-million-dollar business exploiting women.
But there's nothing I could do about it. Yeah,
you could have voted for somebody else.
I could have. There was no one else. I voted. So I voted for H. Ross Perot. A lot that did for me. You know, because I don't believe
I don't know who that is.
Oh, really? So, geez, I can't remember what year it was. So he was another businessman. He wanted to get rid of.
Well, before we get down that rabbit hole, I'm just going to thank Katie for the $5, who says, yes, people look at each other. Being a predator is different. Cheeto's history is predatory. Yeah, I'm really having a hard time understanding this because you call into my show as a Trump supporter. You support him. I'm anti-Trump. You're pro-Trump. I try to convince the audience to be anti-Trump. I try to give people talking points that make them better at having conversations with people who are pro-Trump because there's a lot of bad arguments that are used and it's hard to navigate them if you don't know the facts and the argumentation tactics that are necessary to deal with this type of bullshit. So we're at a point right now where you support a president who you recognize to be a mass sexual exploiter. So the question just becomes generally, why are you okay with the...
No, it's over now.
He's the president.
He's the president, and there was former presidents that did things that I didn't agree with, but when it came to liberals, or should I say Democrats, saying, well, that was then. He turned over a different leaf. I mean, there was presidents that were very bigoted. But you know what? They became a president, and everybody forgot about all that because, you know what? He's a Democrat. Oh, he was just, doesn't matter.
What Democrat ran a business for 10 years that exploited half of the country, or a category of people that's half the country?
Yes, so he did it to the black people. Joe Biden was very anti-black, very anti.
His voting history as a senator is something that I don't like. I agree that he did some.
Okay.
He had some tough on crime policies that were bad. He's admitted that he was wrong, and like he's apologized for some of the voting decisions he made in the 80s and 90s, and that is bad. But in the moment, he thought he was doing a good thing. He thought he was fighting crime in a way that wouldn't unnecessarily cause harm to people who don't deserve it. That was the outcome of those policies, and that's why he was sorry about that. I don't think that's the same thing. Trump isn't sorry about what he did.
No, he's a narcissist. I know that.
Not only is Donald Trump not sorry for what he did, he also wasn't trying to do something good and failing. He was trying to do something bad and succeeding.
Well, okay. But again, I gotta go. I wait so long. But H. Ross Perot ran against Al Gore as president. He didn't believe in different gender bathrooms. There was a lot against NAFTA. But I voted for him, and look how that turned out. You don't even know who he is. So.
I don't.
Yeah. Let somebody else up. I really got to get back to work. I apologize.
All right.
Someday I'll.
I'm sorry I cut him off, but thank you, Neil. I'll tell everybody to go to linktr in my bio and support the show. Follow me on the other platforms. Follow the other TikTok accounts, Oskar Quentin 2 and Oskar Quentin Music, for when I get banned. Because I want to be able to do the show after I get banned when that eventually happens. We can talk to Average Guy again. He was on yesterday, and he brought me a resource that I wasn't super prepared to deal with, but I'm a little bit better prepared now. How old are you again, Average Guy?
26.
What are we talking about today?
I was just wondering if you ended up looking through that study.
Yeah, they also didn't accurately include sales tax data. They said that they underestimated it completely baselessly, and that's a humongous chunk of the tax burden. For the audience members, the caller brought me a source that said that illegal immigrants have a negative effect on the tax burden. They pay less in taxes than they use in government benefits, which is false. Everybody on the left agrees with that. Most of the people on the right agree with that, but there are some people on the right or in the center that put out misleading analyses of this data, and the FAIR organization is one such organization. You brought me their study. We talked about some of the things that I was able to find it on the air, and we had a mod come up who pointed out detail to me, but off air I looked at it, and the big discrepancy comes from the fact that while that article from FAIR claims to accurately include sales tax data from illegal immigrants, it simply doesn't. They say that they're adding them, but the citation isn't accurate, and they don't actually use the accurate numbers for what we think illegal immigrants pay in sales taxes, which accounts for something like $50 or $60 billion of the total. So yeah.
50 to 60 billion?
Something like that, yeah.
What's your source on that?
Oh, God damn it. Let me just start back at the beginning with that.
Well, okay, let's just make it easy. Even if I accept that as fact, that still doesn't make them a net benefit. But also, the main reason I wanted to go into this is because I had to leave and go back to work, but now it's Saturday. I got time. The argument on U.S. citizens that are the product of illegal immigration, not calculating them into the cost calculation, I wanted to hit that harder and figure out why you don't think when making policy based on illegal immigration that the full extent of it and the cost accrued to the American taxpayer should not be considered.
Because ethically, I don't think it makes a difference whether a person why does it matter to you who a person's parents are? Like, the rules are that if you're born here, that makes you a citizen. You recognize those are the rules, right?
Well, so the reason it matters to me is because when talking about if we should crack down on illegal immigration, which as we saw is the second biggest issue in the 2024 election, why should we do that? Why are we making policies against this? Is it because of cultural issues, fiscal issues, social issues, whatever? And we're harping on the fiscal problem with it. The mass importation of a low-skilled workforce is not going to be a net benefit for society. Right. Wait.
Your concern is that these immigrants are like low-skilled. So if they're born here and they're citizens and they get to use our education system, what makes these infants low-skilled? Well, that's the difference, right? You could talk about the economic circumstances of where these people are coming from, but the reason we treat everybody equally if they're born here is because they're born here and they just get to be an American from the beginning. You can't call the children of undocumented immigrants who are born here low skilled compared to what? Citizens that are born here? We birth tons of doofuses here.
Yeah, we can get into that, but the problem is that
we're getting into it right now.
Yeah, the doofus is that we born here. We're not a product of our failed border policies, our failure to.
Maybe they were the result of teen pregnancy. Maybe they were the result of some kind of foolishness. Maybe they were the result of a rape. Like, it doesn't matter. What difference does it make? You're teacupped. You get muted if you leave the app. You got to come back. Like, look, I have older siblings. Oh, he left. I don't know if he was trying to. I don't know. I did look into it the thing that like the discrepancy I couldn't figure out yesterday. I actually like put a little bit of that in the description of yesterday's video and stuff, just because it's like they make these big reports where it's like, here's a 30-page document explaining like apparently that illegal immigrants have a greater tax burden than they pay in, which just isn't, like, even the Google AI blurb says otherwise. Like because it is just false. There's this handful of organizations that are willing to just fudge the numbers, take all the ranges, and if the range, if you need to fudge these types of numbers higher and fudge these types of numbers lower, you can just take the top end of the range and then the bottom end of the range, ignore the fact that you did that unfairly, and then do the equation, and you might arrive at a number where the tax burden is like greater than the benefit. But if you actually just accurately do it with math, no, they pay more in taxes than they cost. That's a fact. And that caller's strategy is essentially just to ask me questions until he finds one I don't know the answer to, which is like, what is the exact dollar amount that they pay in sales tax or something like that, which we can only estimate. But because we can only estimate that, the studies that suggest otherwise are taking obviously wrongly low estimates of those sorts of things. We're going to talk to Scranton Strangler US. Anybody watch The Office? Everybody watches The Office, right? How old are you? Hello, you're muted. I sent you an unmute invite. There we go. How old are you? The queue is empty. Perhaps we will have friendly time. So tired of just answering the same things. I mean, that's like this big thing I have about truth and discourse in general right now, is that we have claims like illegal immigrants are more dangerous than other people. Why do we have to spend so much fucking time on it, right? Like, we can have a court case for a murderer, determine whether or not they're a murderer, and then that's the answer, right? We all got to call Derek Chauvin a murderer after he was convicted. End of story. We just need to have a court case. Like, this is the change America needs. There needs to, the public disagrees about whether or not illegal immigrants are committing disproportionately many murders. Let's have the courts handle it. Let's have a court case and then just assess. The answer to the question is either yes or no. It happens to be no, they're not disproportionately dangerous. And then from there, henceforth and forever, always, we should just be able to reference, like, of course the difficulty is that if that organization gets something wrong, then people are gonna, who becomes the arbiter of truth? It's complicated, but like, it's just such a fucking waste of time that people like me sit here and talk for hours about the same claims over and over and over and over again, with people who just keep trying to do the work of coming up with a convincing looking document to convince that doofus that illegal immigrants have an undue burden on the tax system. And it's what we spend all our fucking time on. Kenneth is, I believe, a friendly, if he's the Kenneth I'm thinking of. But we're getting there. Got a half hour on this Saturday. We'll chat for a little bit. How old are you?
Yo, 33.
33. Welcome to the show. You're a donor, right? Have you spent some PayPal donations?
Yes, I am indeed. Yeah, through PayPal. We don't have Venmo or and such over here. So
where do you live?
I live in Ireland, in Dublin.
Oh, yeah. How are you feeling over there about what we're getting up to?
Yeah, not too great, because it's very interesting with the tariffs and stuff. There was talks about possibly Trump putting tariffs specifically on pharmaceuticals, where a lot of U.S. pharmaceuticals, as in the companies, and then they're exported to the U.S. where they're sold. And that would have a big impact if he tariffed the pharmaceutical industry. Yeah. So it hasn't happened, thankfully. They've kind of, But it's a whole mess. Like, because I don't know if you know, but did you see? It would have been maybe a month ago. We had like protests over fuel prices here and stuff.
I think I may have seen some headlines about that, but I'm not at all educated on what's going on in Ireland.
Yeah, so
we having connection issues? Are you there?
There are like taxes on fuel, so the government gets like 6%. But I thought it was a very strange thing to be protesting when they weren't protesting prior to the price of fuel going up because of the Iran war, but they only had an issue with the taxes when the price skyrocketed because of the war. So it was a very strange thing to see when clearly our government had no say in whether or not the US goes to war with Iran and the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, etc. So it was a very weird
I can
thing.
say
But anyway,
about
that's the
I can say about that. I can say about that one of the ways that a government can respond to a fuel crisis is by reducing the gas tax, because we have the gas tax in America. I don't know how it works in Ireland, and we have a gas tax here where our roads generally are paved with money that is collected through the gas tax, which makes sense because the amount of gas you burn is correspondent to how much you use the road. So that's just a fair way to do it. So one of the ways that you can handle a gas crisis is by reducing the gas tax temporarily to alleviate the effect on people. And Trump has actually floated doing that in response to the current gas crisis. I would say that's just not, he shouldn't have started the problem in the first place is really the thing. And then at the end of the day, we do good things with the gas taxes. So getting rid of it is also a real cost to the functioning of the government in terms of building roads and stuff like that. I personally, last time I was presented with a hike in the local gas tax here in Minnesota, I voted for it. I voted to increase the gas tax here because we got a lot of potholes in Minnesota, and I want to pave them roads. Because it's you're robbing a different system if you fix the gas prices by reducing the gas tax. It just is a mechanism, a lever that's available to the leadership of a country to reduce strain because of gas prices, but it doesn't get to the root problem.
Did that get passed, by the way? Did that get passed to increase it? Just generally.
Oh, well, I mentioned that,
in
it was...
Minnesota.
A few years ago, we voted to increase it by, 1%. I think it passed. But it's not really of that much consequence. I just, on the ballot, thought, oh, sure, I don't mind an extra 1% at the pump to, pave more potholes.
Yeah,
exactly. I didn't even follow it all that closely. I just voted for it because I thought, sure, we need to do more road work here. So, not the sort of thing I'm super invested in. But I mean, the gas tax is pretty considerable. If I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but if you pay, if you buy $100 worth of gasoline, you're giving like $20 or $30 to the government to pave roads.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It was quite interesting. We actually had a big thing here in Ireland. It was like, it would water tax. So it would have been after the economic crash of 2008. So maybe a few years after, 2013, 14. And so because we had a lot of austerity, as in we had the IMF come over, and it was this whole thing to get us back into the green and all that kind of stuff. But there was a lot of obviously economic insecurity, and we basically bailed out the failed banks over here in Ireland. And at that time, they wanted to bring in a water tax. And it was basically, again, the tax wasn't the issue, but it was the last straw for people we're already paying enough tax. We're already paying back these banks that were bailed out, and so there was protests over that. And basically they had to end up scrapping the tax. But at the same time, we're now seeing, say in my area, where they changed the name, funny enough, from, it was called Irish Water, the public company that, say, did repairs and all that. Now it's just the Irish name. But they still do maintain the pipes and do repairs, and we've had it a few times here where they have to turn off the water to update the pipes, and if it means,
well, were they?
I understand.
Sorry to jump in because I know that we've got a little bit of a delay we're dealing with, but were the tax that they proposed on the water, was it on the water bill, or were they just proposing an additional tax that would help pay for the water system? Because I disagree with one and not with the other.
Yeah, I think it was to do with usage. So I think it depended on how much you used the water. So if you use more water, you would have to pay more or something.
Yeah, I see that one. Water is such a necessity. One of the things that I'm okay with a gas tax about is that it does discourage people buying gasoline, which is good just in the course of human history.
Exactly.
But water is one of those things that I would prefer. You're a frequent watcher of the show. I see you in the chat all the time, so I know that you know my general perspective. But water's on that list of things I think it's just deeply evil to charge a person for, given how much wealth we have in society. It should just be free, along with the schools and the fire department. Personally, in my opinion. But I also recognize that a good water system is expensive, and if you need to do repairs on a system, you need to come up with a bunch of tax money to do that. So there's going to be different ways to do that. But we handle that democratically, or I'd prefer we would. We have people vote on how to pay for it, and then once the voting happens, we pay for it or we don't, and it's up to the people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, but I just think it's an interesting thing of where it wasn't so much the tax itself, it was more just everyone felt at the time that, we're already doing so much anyway and paying, trying to get a country back on track, that it was interesting that the water tax was the thing that people were like, no. Because, yeah, it is actually quite standard in a lot of European countries to have a water tax. So that was the argument our government was going with. But it was a straw that broke the camel's back at the time. But yeah, no, I've been watching you now for, I don't know how long. When have you started doing this, by the way, actually? Good point. When did you start properly doing streams?
I'm kind of new. I did my first few streams in February, and then it wasn't until I think I started aiming to be live every day at the beginning of May, and then, no, March, at the beginning of March. And then it was like April is when I started numbering the episodes and like actually like doing it as a daily show that got posted to YouTube every day. So I've kind of hit the ground running with it. But I have everybody to thank, including you, because you've contributed to the show.
Yeah, no, I think it's great to see, and I think, as you said, your style is a bit different, and I just think in general I'd say it's to do with your academic background, the kind of the very much focus on logical consistency with arguments, and being like, okay, why do you think this? And then a lot of the time, you might ask them for a source, and they just know, it's a talking point. They don't really know where it comes from, if you know what I mean. So I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, my approach to everything is that I'm not going to be knowledgeable about everything, but we got to see it yesterday where somebody brought me something I hadn't seen before. So I wasn't going to just flatly say like, oh, this disagrees with me, therefore it must be wrong. I was reasonably confident that it was wrong because it disagrees with a lot of sources I've seen, but I have to look at it and break it down. And it is one of the weaponizations of what the right is doing. They will take a source that is compelling to people who don't have an academic background, and even for somebody like me that does have an academic background, to find out what's wrong with that source, it took me a while. I had to sit down and research it for like a half hour after the show to be like, all right, I got to understand why this one's bad, and that's fucking hard. I'll let you get a little more airtime, but I do have somebody else in the queue to get to, and I'm gonna thank or here, you go ahead, and then I'll thank the donors after the call.
Yeah, no, I don't want to take too much of time. I know you want to speak to a few people, but yeah, no, as I said, I think it's good to see, I could tell from very early on that you had some sort of academic background, and as you said, you know how to do research properly and that kind of stuff. Again, that stuff is very important. And I think more and more nowadays, especially with the way the social media is and the internet, it's very easy to see a clip of something. Well, I saw it on this clip, this clip said that such and such happened, where we really need to be digging into things much more, whether it's the study, survey, etc. I think that's really important. So, I know you can say the donors if you want.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your time, and I'll see you in the chat in the future.
Yeah, cool, man. Thanks for having me up. All the best.
It is always interesting to get the international perspective, and I appreciate that I have so many international viewers who value my perspective. Infexus on Cash App sent me $10 and just said, "Keep up the brilliant work." Thank you very much. I will do my best to keep doing the thing I'm doing, and thank you for the $10 because you're the reason I get to keep doing it. I'm gonna talk to Ashley because I feel like she's a longtime viewer. We're doing a little bit of friendly time. So Sean, I see you. Oh, Sean left. Goodbye, Sean. Hello, Ashley.
Hi, Oscar. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you well. How old are you?
Okay, I'm going to be 41 next month, July 3rd, 30th, 1985.
Okay. I don't need a whole birthday. Don't dox yourself.
Oh, okay. All right. So as I was saying in my Venmo, this is going to be really weird and hard to explain because I'm very.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry. What was it about the? Oh yeah, your neighbor, right? Yeah.
Right. I'm really passive, so I don't really ask a lot of questions, but I'm trying to change that now, especially with the environment we're in. Mm-hmm. She seems willing to learn, but she's telling me a story that didn't really make sense. So I Googled it, and I'm still kind of lost.
Okay.
She's claiming she drove buses it had to have been Texas somewhere. I don't remember exactly where. With blacked out windows with undocumented immigrants, and they were coming in groves, is what she was saying under Biden. And this didn't make sense to me, so I Googled it, and what I found was that they were actually being arrested and being sent back, not coming in.
That sounds right, what you found, but she's convinced that Biden was busing illegal immigrants into the country?
Yes.
Yeah.
With blacked out windows, they had no... she said they had no clothes and everything, and it sounds like they were trying to get into the border. They were arrested and then they were sent back, but I can't confirm that.
Yeah, well, that's the difficulty about proving a negative, right? So the burden, I think the discussion that you need to have with your friend is on the burden of proof, which is frustrating because it's not a very easy conversation to have, where it's physically impossible for you to prove that didn't happen. This is something that we deal with in logic, is that prove to me that Biden didn't bus any illegal immigrants in. And it's like, well, what do you want me to do? Send you a picture of an empty road and say, look, they're not being,
Right.
You can't prove a negative. It just doesn't work.
Right.
Has nothing to do with how difficult the claim is, has nothing to do with whether or not it's bullshit. It's just the way that logic works. So the burden is on the person making the claim that Biden did that to prove it. And so I would stand on business on that. I'd say, I need you to show me, where did you learn that? That's the question I often ask on this show. Who told you that? Because
she's claiming she was the one driving the bus.
Oh.
And I'm wondering, I probably should ask her where she was driving them to.
Yeah, well, I mean,
maybe it was like a DHS building and not just to a McDonald's.
If she claims that she was busing illegal immigrants into the country for Joe Biden, there's a couple problems I have with this. One, why was she doing that if she's somebody who's so against that sort of thing? Why would you, if that was your job and you got to do that day, why didn't she object then? And then the other thing I'd say is, why didn't she go to the news? Because I was sitting here thinking that I need a news article about this, and it sounds like she should have been the source of it. If she did this, she's the source. She's the source of this claim. You can ask her for proof. You say, you did this. When did you work? Where? Do you have a pay stub? Like I would tell her, that's a really big story. You need to get all the evidence you have of that happening and bring it to the news station, because people would be very interested in that. That's one of the things I offer to people on this show a lot. When they bring an outrageous claim, I say, oh my God, if that's true, that's going to be a big story. That's going to be a big deal. You're going to be on the news talking about that if that actually happened. But people tend to lose interest in supporting their bullshit or defending their bullshit when you give them the opportunity to defend it. Say, oh, that's great. I'm gonna take your nonsensical claim seriously. I'm gonna say that sounds really important, and I think that we should talk about it on my show. I think we should talk about it on the news. What's your evidence? And then from there, it's like, what do we have? Where did your neighbor work such that she was doing that? Like, did she work for DHS? Like,
that's what I didn't ask, and I think I'm gonna have to, because I'm curious if she was driving them to like DHS and they were being sent back over the border, or like, I'm curious, was she dropping them off at a McDonald's? Where was she taking them?
Well, right, and there's any number of things it could be. Like I'm making this up completely, but let's say that some people arrived at the border, applied for asylum, and then one of the steps in the process is that they get taken from the border to the building to assess their asylum status. Hypothetically, you could have a bus full of people that comes from the border to some DHS building, has their asylum status denied, and then they go back to the border and they go back, and that to the person driving the bus, maybe that feels like I'm busing illegal immigrants in for Biden's DHS. I'm making this up as a potential thing that maybe actually happened, but wouldn't be a good example of what she was talking about. So it's always those technical questions you got to ask. Okay, you drove a bus. Who did you work for? Did you work for a company that offers bus and shuttle services, or did you have a government job working for DHS? That would be the first thing I'd want to understand. Like, what exactly were you doing? And that's kind of what we ran into. I think you were watching earlier in the show when we were talking about the video of the people arriving at the border, which is that you can have something like a bunch of migrants on a bus and put an editorial story around it, like it sounds like your neighbor's doing, just the same as the caller can say he saw a video of 1,000 migrants at the border and tell a story of what was happening with those migrants, when in reality it's like, buddy, this is just a photograph of a crowd of people who are brown. This isn't proof of shit.
Right.
So
I believe her, but I don't believe. I think she's misunderstanding what her job was, because when I Googled it, like I was telling you, it was mentioning like they were being arrested because they got caught coming over the border, being brought to a DHS building, and then being sent back. And I don't think she saw the part with them being taken back.
Well, so I just made that up. Like, that was completely speculation on my part. But it's the sort of thing where I, with a reasonably comprehensive understanding of how these things work, I can see evidence that to somebody who's more closed-minded, to somebody who's more small-minded, would look at it and be like, look at them busing these illegal immigrants. And it's like, just because you put some illegal immigrants on a bus doesn't mean that you're supporting illegal immigration. Like, I have a bigger imagination than that, and I just need more facts and details about this. And that's the sort of thing. It's the sort of thing that happens when people say that Biden pressured social media to like not release misinformation about COVID, which he did ask them to do, but then suddenly the news story is that he coerced them. And when I say coerced, it's like, well, what's the consequences? There has to be consequences for coercion. There has to be, like, for it to be a threat, there has to be some consequence if you don't listen to the threat. So the thing you got to do is get into the habit of being confrontational, which is hard because you started the call by saying that you don't like that type of confrontation. And I think that's the challenge that we all have in our lives right now, is that the Republicans are willing to be confrontational about their bullshit. And a lot of people who aren't bullshitters are less confrontational. Those two things might be related.
I mean, she is a registered Democrat too. So, I mean, it's not like, she's not confrontational. She was nice about the conversation. We weren't like arguing or anything. Mm-hmm. But like, I'm an SA survivor. So my being, forceful is not exactly strong.
Well, and if that's, sorry that happened to you, of course, it doesn't have to be your burden. Not everybody has to be that confrontational, but I think it would do the country good for more people to be confrontational in that way. And that's one of the things I do urge, is that if you are capable, if it's something you're comfortable with, we should be more confrontational of the bullshit. It happens to me in real life. People tell me I saw this, and I go, no, you fucking didn't. Prove it. Like, that's not, no, I'm too educated about what's going on. It'd make the 6 o'clock news if that happens. You were lying through your fucking teeth. Prove it, buddy. I'll say that to somebody in the bar, but I know I exercise a little bit of privilege as a tall white guy to be able to say that to a stranger in public without worrying for my safety so much. But, that's maybe it's good that that's the way that I choose to exercise my privilege. Because it's generally privileged people I'm saying those sorts of things to.
Yeah, I think she's open to a conversation. I just didn't know where to go from there because it's such a... I mean, I'm so tired of people bringing up Biden. It's ridiculous.
Well, and separately, it's frustrating that people keep bringing up Biden. It's frustrating that people don't understand how these things work. It's frustrating that people don't understand that just because a giant global thing happened doesn't mean that the U.S. president is necessarily responsible for the effects of that global thing here. But there's also just this scope of issue thing, where a lot of callers of this show will say, oh, I've seen it. I've seen more people standing at the Home Depot or whatever, in their life anecdotal metric they think they might have for illegal immigration. Because even if it was true, even if there was some reason, right? Like maybe it was an asylum program and she literally was busing immigrants, because a lot of asylees do show up illegally. It's an acceptable method to get asylum, is to illegally enter and then immediately turn yourself in. But there's a little period there where you're an illegal immigrant because you haven't turned yourself in yet. So maybe these are people who turned themselves into the asylum program and they were getting bussed somewhere. So she can look at that and be like, look at that, I'm bussing the illegal immigrants in for Biden. Here's a different, also speculative explanation for what might have happened. What I'm getting at is that a few busfuls of people isn't very many people. We're talking about millions of illegal immigrants that came in during Biden's term. 12 million who are here total right now. So a person's limited experience with a couple of busfuls of people. We have asylum programs. Even, like, there are some Republicans who are really unreasonable and don't think we should let anybody into the country. No immigrants whatsoever. Right. But most Republican politicians are okay with some amount of asylum status, some amount of legal processes. So your friend's story isn't even necessarily inconsistent with the sort of immigration policies that Republicans want, because if they were, for example, I'm making this up, but like if they were asylum applicants or something like that, then yeah, sure, maybe you did move a bus or 2 or 3 or 10, doesn't really matter. I doubt you moved all of them. I doubt you moved enough of them to have anything important to say about illegal immigration. Totally. We just need to look at data. We need to look at bigger numbers than how many people fit in a bus.
Right. Yeah, and it came up because we were talking about, because she really doesn't support, I won't use his name, it's Taco to me, or Cheeto Dust, either or, but she doesn't support him, but she didn't like Kamala's, she said something about like not debating, which I heard people on, like, I don't know if it's your show or someone else's, they keep saying she didn't debate, and I'm like, she did do a debate.
Well, I mean, people often have their own association for what these words mean. Like when people say, I don't want to argue with you, or I don't want to debate with you, or we can just have a conversation. I tend to, people get big feelings about these words. I tend to just go with whatever the caller wants, whatever the person I'm talking to wants. Discussion's a fine word. But I think that if you're having a discussion where you disagree, that's a debate. And if it gets heated, that becomes an argument. But at the end of the day, it's important to recognize whether we're talking about discourse or whether it's actually with the thing in the discourse we're talking about. Just got to recognize it when it's semantic, because it is semantic,
Right.
whether it's a conversation, a debate, an argument, a discussion. None of that actually affects any of the actual things that are being said. It's just labels we put on things. And
Right.
that's an important reflex to have generally. Are we actually talking about a disagreement about what's happening out in the world, or are we disagreeing about the word we're using for something? And that would apply to a debate. A lot of people don't want to debate, but they want to discuss things they disagree on. And I'm like, all right, whatever you want to call it, let's get into it.
Right. All right. Yeah, I will ask her more questions. Thanks, Oscar.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming up. Let's see. Where's my guest request window? There it is. Pleasure talking to you, Ashley.
Yep. Thank you.
Oh, Chair, I'm actually going to kick you down. You can get back in the queue because Sean was back and he was first in line. So we're going to talk to Sean. W guest in the chat for the guest out there doing discourse. Sean, how old are you?
I am older than I'd like to admit. 45.
45. That's not so bad. You're making me feel old. I mean, I can see 45. Anyway, friend or foe?
I am a friend.
Okay, what's up?
So I'm curious. First of all, love your lives. I think you do a great job with debate. It's been really refreshing. I used to be a Dean watcher back in the day, but I just kind of got tired. And no hate on them or whatever. Dean and Parker are cool, but I do appreciate your style much more. My question is, have you ever thought about, and I'm sure you have, debating the far left? I know it's a niche group, but I feel like it's a group that has really kind of poisoned the left in a way. Like it's just the infighting has created so much weird drama. I don't know.
Well, no, you may have missed a couple streams because it's been happening lately where I have communists or other people who are on the far left call in, and I am willing to have the discussion. And it's an important discussion. My issue is that there are so many people on the far left who are completely unreasonable and unwilling to have a conversation with me at all. Because here's my litmus test: if you think that Democrats and Republicans are the same, I don't think a conversation with us is going to be productive. I think that's. I kind of need to start there because it's just hard to have a conversation with somebody who's unwilling to recognize that the Republicans are trying to hide the Epstein files and the Democrats are trying to get justice for women. There are things that they're both doing that are bad. There are criticisms to levy against establishment Democrat politicians. There's all these things. And my own political identity is one that is very far left compared to the Democratic Party. But there are people farther left than me that I disagree with. And what I've found is that the more reasonable ones that are willing to assess the differences between the Republicans and the Democrats tend to be the people on the left who realize that I'm farther left maybe than some of the other ones think I am. I'm very much in a blurry area of the spectrum where there are people on the far left who hate me for being a liberal, and there are liberals who hate me for being a leftist because they disagree about exactly where the fine line between liberal and leftist is. And for those listening, liberals are progressives, and then leftists, like progressives that want to continue the current system and keep incrementally like fixing it with voting and democracy and all that stuff. And then the far leftists think that capitalism is bad and is always going to corrupt whatever rules we come up with, and we need a totally different system like Marxism or something. Which there's philosophical credence to because capitalism's fucking evil. But my issue is I think in my heart I'm a leftist, but I'm too practical to want to like just go full bore with the leftist approach because I don't think it's likely to yield a good outcome. I don't think it's going to be successful in American politics. So I'd much rather have my like maybe semi-anti-capitalist heart driving a practical approach to politics. That's long-winded and messy, that yammering I just did. But I have to yammer and be long-winded and messy because everybody disagrees about the labels. But I'm pretty fucking far left as far as liberals go, generally.
Yeah, no, I kind of, I'm in the same lane basically as you on that one too. I appreciate, like, I definitely consider myself a leftist, not a liberal. And I often find myself agreeing with people that are farther than me. I just don't agree on the approach. And I'd like to see that kind of tested a little bit more, but I'm not even sure if they would engage in that. And then my second caveat to that is, are they kind of poisoning the water? Are they actually helping to not get us moving further left by being so far that they're actually getting in the way?
That's specifically my complaint against them. I think that's 100% the problem, and it's why I try to urge them to behave in a way that doesn't... Like the people who call in and say that the Republicans and the Democrats are the same, and that I'm a Nazi for telling people that they should probably be voting blue in the midterms. I think it's important people vote in the midterms, and wherever you live in this country, it's probably a blue candidate who you should be voting for in the midterms. If you think I'm a Nazi for doing that, you are not helping. You are making the problem worse. You are making the outcomes worse for people. You are making the erosion of the civil rights we currently have faster because you're so upset about the civil rights that we don't have already. And that's, they're being unproductive assholes, essentially. And yeah, so it's those types of leftists that I really clash with and just find I don't have productive conversations with. Whereas I think that the more reasonable leftists who are maybe willing to accept that in my heart I want similar things for society as they do, I just have maybe a slightly different practical approach. It's those leftists where we can really talk about a path forward to actually get to the sort of prosperous society that all of us on the left want. That's the thing we all on the left side of the spectrum, left of center, agree, is that society should be an easy, happy place to live for everybody. Exactly. Fundamentally, I think that if you want an extreme position, if you want to, like, I don't know, have a constitutional convention and like change the way the entire government works, or overthrow the country and have some kind of like coup or civil war or some societal collapse type solution, I disagree with a lot of those solutions. But if you want that, you're not going to get it by being an asshole to Oskar Quentin on his live.
Right.
I'm making more leftists than that guy is just by sitting here and speaking reasonably about it, because I sit in the ass crack between liberals and leftists on the political spectrum. If people fall in my neighborhood from listening to me, some of them are going to be slightly to the right of me and some of them are going to be slightly to the left of me, and those slightly to the left of me are fucking communists because I'm almost there. So I'm doing good for shifting the zeitgeist left. And that's going to make more leftists. That's going to make the army bigger when that day comes. Even if I'm not quite there yet and I still want people to vote in the midterms. Which gets me to the bottom line, which is that I preach that we on the left need unity. We need to take seriously the fact that capitalism fucks up politics. We need to take seriously the fact that capitalism gets in the way of fucking everything we're trying to do as progressive members of society. But we also need to recognize that we live in a capitalist system, you know? In just the same way that these leftists who hate capitalism still pay their rent because they don't want to get evicted, we still need to vote in the midterms because we don't want the government run by open rapists.
Yep. Point blank.
Yeah, it's kind of what it boils down. But I have been engaging more with the leftists, and I think that broadly I don't mind that being a part of my platform and talking about it. It's frustrating that so many people farther left of me aren't productive, and their actual path forward is a silly, nonsensical one that doesn't deserve my attention very much, and that's a shame because I hate infighting on our side of the political spectrum, but it is there.
Yeah, I feel you on that. I just wonder if there's a debate market for that, because it would be something that I'd be super interested in, and I think you would do very well. Like I forget Pendleton. What's her name? Madeline
Pendleton. Yeah.
Someone like that I used to love, and then now I'm finding myself just being like, okay, kind of a little too far. Like maybe chill out a little bit. You could be hurting us more than you're helping us move in the right direction, and it kind of pisses me off. I'm just like, what are we doing here? Like, come on. Can we work together?
Yeah, and one of the mod team members, my friend Raven, is pointing out that episode 52 on the YouTube is it's the leftist episode. I had a communist call in, and we had a lovely discussion where, much like the one we're having right now, where we talked about some of this nitty gritty stuff, and he and I both lamented the fact that a lot of leftist callers call in and are unproductive and think I'm so stupid for not thinking like them, that they just like yell at me and are condescending. And then immediately after he was done, exactly such a communist called in and it was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The episode, the thumbnail says the two types of communists. Because the second caller made a fucking fool of himself in exactly the sort of way that even you and me are describing right now. So if you want my take on leftism, there's 2 hours of it, and it's that episode.
Okay, cool. Wait, was that earlier in this week?
Yeah, it was a few days ago.
Yeah, I actually did. I did see that. I watch you way too much. But
thanks.
I appreciate what you're doing. I really do. I look for like I wake up in the morning. I'm like, oh, let's see what's Oscar's up to. You know,
10 o'clock Central Time every day because I quit my job. Woo!
Hell yeah! Right on. Well, hey, keep it up. Definitely appreciate you. Want to see you rise even further. So
I'll keep it up, man. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
W's in the chat for Sean. I'll thank Nicholas for a $5 Venmo donation. He said, appreciate what you do. Keep up the great work. And let me know if you decide to come to Delaney Hall. I will be announcing that. Straightforwardly, here we are at the end where it's like mostly just friendlies listening. I make enough money doing this show to survive. So the language, for months I've been saying like we need to get the donations up to like make it so that I don't have to work anymore. And I'm there, so I now get to switch a little bit to like, all right, I get to like pay my debts down and like, you know, get an emergency fund and like handle my own personal finances. But I'm at a point where I can start saying that if we get donations above what's like baseline for what I need to run the show every day, because I run this show like a 9 to 5. I start prep at 9, do the show from 10 to 12, and then if I'm done by 5 o'clock, that's a good day because I have to review the episode, do all the editing, do all the clips. The clips are very time consuming to generate. But I'm trying to put together a travel fund because me and one of the mod team members that I know in person, who's like doing some assistant type work for me, like we're talking very seriously about going to New Jersey if New Jersey is still the story when such a fund exists, or whatever happens after Delaney Hall, whatever the next big place where the spotlight is. I'd love to do this show from a hotel room by day and participate in whatever's happening out on the ground wherever I should be at night, because ICE is fucking terrified of Minnesotans at this point. It's not much going on at the Whipple, though there are a bunch of vehicles showing up there, so maybe we have another surge coming or something. But the point is, now that the show is successful enough to pay for my life, I am shifting to saying that if I continue to take in people's wealth because they care about me doing this, it'll be a travel fund to go do on the ground reporting. I could put up a New Jersey goal. I don't want to advertise that it's necessarily going to be for New Jersey because I don't know if it will be. I don't know if New Jersey is going to be the story. If I had $1,000 or $2,000 to spend on a trip right now, I might go right to New Jersey. I don't know if that's going to be the case in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or something like that. And I don't want to make a promise about a financial goal for donations that then doesn't get met. Just because time's passed and the spotlight's somewhere else. So the best I can say is that I am going to try to exercise responsibility around the money that this show makes me. And because it makes me enough to survive and to, you know, pay down my debts that I have as a 30-year-old in America, and like, you know, manage my own personal finances. Beyond that, it really is going to be to grow this platform into something better, to be able to make this show better and make the reporting that I offer when I do more journalistic stuff than just debating. I want to make all that better, and I'm so fucking very sad that I'm not in New Jersey because I want to be there with my buddies at Delaney, and obviously I'd all the new friends I'd make if I was there, because I'm so proud of the people of New Jersey, and I'm a New Yorker, so it breaks my heart to say that. Sorry, gotta trash talk a little bit from the home team, but yeah, I really seriously am excited about potentially being able to do that. What is my favorite band? Off subject. Well, everybody knows I'm a big Johnny Cash fan as a folk singer. I think my favorite band might be Green Day, though. I'm a huge Green Day fan. They were my first concert. I saw them at Riot Fest last year. Fucking love Green Day. Anyway, thank you, Jen, for the $5 super chat. Part of learning how to talk to Trump supporters is learning when it isn't worth trying. Thanks for being an educator. Yeah, that's unfortunately, sometimes you got to give up. If it's a person in your real life, sometimes you do have to give up if it's just not worth your time and energy. Tavi sent me $5 on YouTube super chat to add. Oscar, remember to save all your travel expenses receipts. This is your voluntary accountant speaking. I was self-employed for 6 years with multiple different revenue income streams. People are like, everybody's like, oh my God, Oscar, make sure you keep track of everything. I know, guys. I'm not going to be scared come tax season. next year. I know what I'm doing with self-employment. So yes, thank you for the concern. It's very, seriously, thank you for the concern, because a lot of people don't know what they're doing when they suddenly become like an influencer, but I have some idea of what I'm doing. Jazz sent me $5 to say, call it the Icebreaker Fund. That way it doesn't matter where you go next. That's actually a good idea. I need to, like, I have the websites planted. I have Oskar Quentin and Oskar Quentin Music. I own the domains, the .coms for both of them. So I might, like, try to put up, like, a, you know, some kind of a, yeah, I should do that, because if donations are earmarked for travel, I could just put them away. Ooh, Sean, he sent me $20. Thank you. He says I'm the GOAT. Thank you again, Sean. W's in the chat for Sean for hopping up and discussing some things, and also for his donation. But yeah, so just because I'm here talking to the 200 people who still hang out all the way past the debates, that's the plan. I'm really trying to do good with the money that this makes me, beyond just, you know, paying for myself. Dolan, a new donor, just sent me $20 on YouTube Super Chat to say contribution to the Righteous Travel Fund. Yeah, so see, I should even write that down, because the YouTube Super Chats doesn't save it. I need to make sure that I actually put that money away separately. So I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna remember that, because yeah, there's the show's doing well to you know, keep me afloat. My life isn't very expensive, and travel isn't all that expensive. And because I'm from New York, I don't think I'd need a hotel if I went to New Jersey. I think I'd just stay at home in Manhattan, because Delaney Hall is close to Manhattan, right? Like I could like conceivably take an Uber to Delaney Hall from Manhattan. Anyway, I'm just yammering at this point. Thanks very much for all the donations. Thanks for making my life this show, because it's exciting. Thanks everybody who made it even reasonable for me to be sitting here and talking about travel, because there's so many things going on in the country that I'd like to be a part of, and I might get to because of you guys. So thanks for that. Happy Saturday, everybody. 10 to 12 Central Time every day going forward. Linktree in the bio. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Goodbye, TikTok, and goodbye, YouTube.